Jay Crawford, Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, Dustin Fox, Jason Lloyd, Tyvis Powell, plus, ba-da-da-da-da, you're loving him, Mikey McNuggets. And so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show starts now. Booyah!
That's great. Hey! I wish we had more energy for you on this Wednesday, hump day. But our savior this sports season was the Cleveland Guardians. And right now, the sand is falling through the hourglass at a breakneck pace as they lost again last night, falling to the Yankees 6-3. They're 2-0. They're 0-2 now. I've got a stat. I'm always looking for a number to make me feel better about where we are. Mm-hmm. I found one, and it blew me away at how winnable this series still is for the Guardians. I know a lot of people are probably hearing me going, dude, put down the Kool-Aid. It's over. Yeah. Because at 2-0, can you beat the Yankees 4 out of 5? I found a stat that will blow people away on how winnable this thing is. It's not over.
Yeah.
It's not over.
I mean, the odds are against them, obviously.
Oh, the odds are wildly against them.
Yeah.
And even with my stat, I would still take my pile of money and push it on the Yankees right now. It'd be crazy not to.
I think, 15% of teams that fall down 0-2 win the series. So it's tough. Obviously, I don't even buy that the Yankees are that much better. They're just playing that much better right now.
That's couldn't
just
agree
the way
more.
It is,
Everybody now look, their superstars are doing superstar things and ours are not.
Yeah. Yep.
Even though Hosey hit the meaningless homer late last night. Fact is, their superstars are being superstars and ours are not. And if you just give me that piece of information alone,
that's it.
I'll tell you don't win the series. You can't. Not with Rocchio and Kwan.
Right.
You still need the other guys to be the other guys, and they have not. And that's on them. We'll get into all that in a minute. Do you want to do your read before we talk about the Chubb letter, or do you want to just dive right in on the Chubb letter?
Jay, put your mic up a tiny bit higher. It's
okay.
Now the wrong direction. Can't fully hear you. But we're going to talk about this Nick Chubb article before we dive into the depths of the Guardians game 2 loss, the Amari Cooper trade. We got 2 guests for you guys today, and it's brought to you all by FanDuel. Hey, NFL fans, you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. When you get in a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. That's at FanDuel.com/UCSS. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. If you guys missed it this morning, I highly, 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 highly recommend you go on the Players Tribune and read Nick Chubb's love letter to Cleveland and its fan base. And Steve, you take Tagboard full, name the article Cleveland Got My Back. Nick Chubb authored this article. It's in the Players Tribune, and I want to read you just the final page.
That was the
last 2.5 paragraphs.
That was the one
from Nick
the
Chubb
part that got me.
In this article. If you haven't read it, you can go read all of it, but this is how Nick Chubb finished the article. Quote, "When my agent called me to tell me the news, he said, I've never actually had a front office tell me anything like this, but they said that part of the reason they never entertained cutting you is because of how much you mean to the city. That really meant the world to me. Look, I know the deal. I had no guaranteed money left. The Browns had all the leverage. They could have left me high and dry like so many guys in this league, but they had my back. You all had my back. That's enough talking for me. There's only one thing left to do now. I got to pay you back. These rocks ain't going to move themselves. Let's work. Nick."
Incredible. I'm going to be completely honest. I had tears in my eyes reading the last 2 paragraphs. I don't choke up easily over stuff like this. I don't. But for those that didn't read the article, Let's Move These Rocks was a reference that he had made earlier in this letter. And, Mike, I couldn't agree with you anymore. Please take 5 minutes out of your day. You owe it to Nick Chubb. This is a man of few words. He almost says nothing. So when he talks, you hang on every single word. This is the best read you'll read all week, maybe all month. Read it. The rocks are a reference to when he was living with his grandmother, who he was raised by his mother, she had to take 2 jobs. It was very difficult raising he and his 2 siblings. He went to live with his grandmother, and his grandmother was strict as being nice. She was almost mean strict. She would have him do chores that made no sense at the time he was doing them, but part of it was she wanted him and his brother to take all of the stones, all of the landscaping stones out of a garden that they had and put them into buckets. And he didn't know why, but he did. They filled bucket after bucket after bucket, and then when they were done, he said, "What do you want us to do with these rocks?" She said, "Now put them back." Now it sounds like something a drill sergeant would make you do: clean the bathroom floor with a toothbrush. Mm-hmm. But there was so much meaning behind it. And he said, so we did. We placed them one by one back into the garden. And he said, and wouldn't you know it, when we were done, it was absolutely beautiful because they had become a mess, as they do over the years. It seems like a meaningless chore, but what he learned in that moment was there's a purpose for it. And anything that's worth working for, or worth having rather, is worth working for. So he did this, and that's the reference, let's move these rocks. It really hit me.
Jay doesn't cry about anything except for the Lion King, so this was a little surprising to see he was crying. Yeah, I mean, Nick Chubb represents all that's right. Nick Chubb is a great representation. We don't really know him. I mean, none of us know him personally. At least I can only speak for myself. We don't know him. We think we know him. But that's fair. Based on all the knowledge we know
of him,
everything we know about Nick Chubb, everything we've heard about Nick Chubb, is that he represents the type of player that when we're kids and we root for athletes, that's the type of guy you want to root for. Mm-hmm. You want to think that the players love it as much as you do, that it's meaningful, that they're always working hard. And when you're a kid, you don't think about the guys that are getting in trouble off the field or maybe not playing to the best of their ability. Nick Chubb represents the best of what we hope for in our athletes. And he's a great player. He appears by all accounts to be a great person. There's no showboating. It's all about the work for Nick Chubb, and that's why, in a city like Cleveland, which is, I mean, sometimes it gets overblown about blue collar because there's plenty of blue collar people in every city, but it is true. Cleveland is blue collar.
I mean,
and so he fits the mold, especially here. He was always going to resonate even more in a Midwestern city, and so it was the perfect fit of player in town, and that's why everybody loves him so much.
So I'm not going to spin this negatively.
Uh-oh.
But I got some takes. I mean, I think that the Cleveland Browns don't deserve Nick Chubb.
Listen. As I was reading the piece, I asked myself, how did we get so lucky to get him?
That's fair.
And there's a lot of truth in what you just said.
They don't deserve a player like him who totally cares, probably more than many people even in that building, about winning and showing up and grinding, grit, hard work, all of the things that you have to do to be a successful football player. Nick Chubb does that.
Yeah.
And this guy has been through adversity, and yet he shows up, doesn't say a gosh darn word about anything, doesn't bitch, doesn't complain, hands the ball to the official, scores touchdowns, runs hard, blocks, pass protection, you name it. The guy would sell popcorn at halftime if he could. The guy does absolutely everything. And the line in that last paragraph that really strikes me, and it actually kind of irks me, is that the Browns had the audacity to go to him and say, we're not going to cut you. Are you effing kidding me? Not going to cut you? This is the best running back in football and means so much to this organization. If you cut him, he'd be picked up in 20 seconds.
By the
2 seconds. By anybody.
Right.
This is one of the best backs we've seen in the last decade.
Oh, without a doubt.
Clearly. And I just, when I say the Browns don't, the fans deserve him.
Yeah.
We deserve him in the media. I mean, the guy is somebody that's so fun to cover.
Yeah.
But for the organization to act like they're doing him a solid, F off.
It's a good point. I didn't really think about it that way.
I did.
I'm actually surprised because the Browns always come off as tone deaf. I mean, all the time.
What's the right move? They usually go 180 degrees in the other direction.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised they weren't it's just a computer program doesn't say that we should keep him and blah, blah, blah. Somebody asked me yesterday, should the Browns trade Nick Chubb? And I'm like, no.
Well, there's no value there. Not now.
Yeah, but
And he's signed through the year.
I just don't want to trade him.
No. We need something to cheer for.
If Nick Chubb wanted to be gone, I guess, if I'm the Browns, I would certainly consider it. But if he wants to stay, I'd re-sign him.
I would too.
I mean,
if you don't re-sign him, he's going to sign somewhere else
and be good.
And he's going to make your life miserable.
He's going to have another 3-4 years of excellent football.
I agree with you, Bull.
I agree.
Maybe more.
Yeah, because he's
29.
Right.
You guys don't understand.
Yeah.
Guys like him don't grow on trees.
Yeah.
Yes, he's had injuries. Okay,
Yeah.
we get that. But, he's special. Okay, I think he could play, you said 4 or 5 years of good years?
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. But the dude could play like Frank Gore. I think he
or
could,
Peterson, who played deep into
Well,
his
and you
career.
say that because of how he's physically put together and how
Gore,
he takes
Gore
care
had
of
knee
himself.
issues. I mean, and he still played till he was damn near 40.
And he's way better than Gore in his prime. I mean,
in his prime, yes.
Yeah. So, and look at the way Nick Chubb is built. I mean, his upper body is absurd.
It
For
is.
a running back, I mean, it's just ridiculous. And, listen, when he comes back this year, he might be not quite the guy he was, obviously, because he's just coming back from injury. But I would bet by next year, the latest, he's a top 5 running back in the league again.
I think he will
and the
too.
other thing, too, is
you're right.
It's like
Everybody thought Derrick Henry was done 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Look what he's doing in Baltimore. Look what he's doing in Baltimore this year.
Nick Chubb is such a sweet guy. It's almost like he's naive to how good he is.
He
is in some ways run scared every day, and I love that attitude about him because players who want to become great, you don't rest on your laurels and you continue to strive and get better and get better, and you think that you never feel like you've arrived.
Yeah.
And the problem with the Browns for so many years is so many dudes thought that they were like these stars and they've arrived and they're better. Dude, you guys stink.
Yeah.
Okay? Nick Chubb does not stink. Nick Chubb brings out the best in the coaches and the players.
Yeah.
And for anybody to look like we considered cutting? No. No.
Yeah.
Nick Chubb is what we need. We need 22 of those dudes.
Give us 53 and you win a Super Bowl every year.
Look at all the other running backs. And Kareem Hunt was fine, he was all right, but all these other running backs playing behind this offensive line were just guys. They were okay. Maybe Kareem Hunt was a little better than okay. But Nick Chubb has averaged more yards after contact than any player of his era.
Can I tell you that I feel bad for Nick Chubb?
I do too.
Because he's going to come back on a team that's going to win 3 games this year,
Yeah.
and he's going to bust his ass
Yep.
like they're playing for the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And they're going to waste him.
So you don't think there's any scenario where this is Batman coming to save the day?
0 chance. He'll make them better.
Yeah.
He's going to get yards, but dude, they're not as long as they don't get respectable quarterback play, and the defense doesn't continue to get the defense is not what it was last year.
I'm gonna bear the side of me that needs counseling, that needs serious psychiatric help.
Seems like you need a lot today, Jay.
Listen, I'm on the edge and I'm falling.
I can tell.
Yeah.
So
no more text, bro.
This sounds like an absolutely idiotic thing to say, but fans can be idiots.
Sure.
And I'm going to be one right now.
No kidding.
I'm going to be a full-on idiot right now.
Okay.
I'm going to give you a couple of pieces, logs on my motivational fire of why I haven't given up. Nick Chubb's coming back. Number 2 on that list, Nick Chubb's coming back. Number 3 on that list is Nick Chubb's coming back. But there are other things. A malcontent on our offense is gone. Now, can this be addition by subtraction? Someone's got to catch passes. I don't know who it's going to be.
Do we know he was a malcontent?
We know he wanted out. Yeah, we know he wanted out.
I don't know if that makes you a malcontent.
I agree with Bull.
The reason I put him in the malcontent category is
I don't think it's fair.
What I've seen from him on the field has not been what I saw from him just 9 months ago.
Yeah, that's
not even close.
It's fair that he hasn't played his best football
you know
this
what?
year, no doubt.
We'll find out what he does in Buffalo, okay? So maybe that is the wrong word, Bull, and I appreciate you correcting me.
Well,
idiots do dumb things, and that may have been But listen, I listen to people. I try to, even though no one thinks I do. And I hear what you just said. And I think it's probably unfair for me to call him a malcontent. So I'm going to retract that word. And instead, I'll
That was idiot Jay speaking. Now
that was idiot Jay speaking.
Let's just get to slightly stupid Jay speaking.
Yeah, let's get to the idiot Jay still, because it's all coming from the voice of a fan. But the more rational version of idiot Jay. That's a great point. I think malcontent is too hard of a word. But it was pretty clear there were things going on here.
No doubt.
And when a guy who, like Nick Chubb, says nothing and tweets out, I would have been fine with the trade, you got to, that's like a book. Okay, that's not just a word or a statement or a paragraph. From a guy who doesn't talk, that's a book. I would have been fine with the trade.
I think the veteran players on this team have got to be beyond, and like you said, Nick Chubb's not going to complain.
No chance.
No.
But
he's an alien.
The veteran players on this team have to feel like that Deshaun Watson is destroying their career and their chance to win a Super Bowl.
I think
and
so.
I think that's resonating with a lot of the veteran players. The young guys, they don't know what the hell's going on. They're just happy to have a job.
Sure.
But I think the veteran players who are in their last few years in the league
the
and want to win,
maybe even the Myles Garretts,
they're like, what is this?
Yeah.
This guy can't play. He's killing us.
I agree with that. That's a very valid point. However, I know Cincinnati is a far better team than their 2-4 record indicates. But I also know that historically, Kevin Stefanski has the pink slip to the Cincinnati Bengals in his glove compartment of his car.
He has.
He's owned them, and he's beaten them with far inferior quarterbacks than Deshaun Watson. I think we'd all agree on that.
Well,
I mean,
it's hard to say that.
Come on,
now,
idiot, Jay, get a hold of yourself.
It's hard to say that anybody's inferior.
But if I showed you the names of the quarterbacks he's used to beat Cincinnati, who, by the way, Joe Burrow is like, I don't know what it is. We're their kryptonite. And so I think the jolt of energy that they're going to get in that room when they look over and see 24 in pads, and then they run through the tunnel. And by the way, this is the best thing that could have happened to them, because I believe that their entrance would have been one of the worst entrance reactions we've ever had in the history of that stadium, including 0-16.
Because they would have booed.
They would have.
Now they're not going to boo because of Chubb.
Now you can't boo because 24 is in that group.
Yeah.
So my idiot Jay is telling me, just hold on. Just wait a little longer. And here's another piece of information that I'll give you for that. I'm not going to say he was great. He wasn't. In the second half of Sunday's loss, Deshaun Watson was the best we've seen him.
I don't agree with that.
He was 11 for 11 at one point.
I think it's
12.
I think it was
11 for 12. Now look,
Jay, I think it's completely fraudulent.
I'm not
what he did in the
saying he
second
was
half.
Deshaun Watson, Houston Deshaun.
Yeah.
I'm saying compared to what we've seen this year from Deshaun Watson, that was acceptable. Now the results weren't there.
Yeah.
He had chances to win the game. He did not do it.
You can't look at this in a vacuum.
Can I be excited though about that a little?
Listen,
you can be excited about where you want to be.
I think the Browns could win this game possibly because it's the NFL, and yes, there's been something to Stefanski against the Bengals. Why? Who knows? Why
And
Burrow?
the Bengals are not the Bengals this year.
No, their offense is for the
But
most
their
part,
defense
although
is
it
not.
wasn't last week. But they're whatever. The point is that Deshaun Watson, he piled up some numbers on those last two drives because at that point the Eagles had the lead and they were saying, okay, do whatever you want short between the 20s.
At what point was it more than a one-score game?
It wasn't, but the Eagles were content to let him move the ball short and take up time between the 20s.
Fair point.
That's kind of the way they were playing.
Fair point. And then when they needed to buckle down, they did, and we couldn't score the touchdown we needed.
I mean, to me,
I'm
when
sorry,
you kick
I'm just
a field
trying
goal,
to rationalize reason to care.
There's no reason to be sorry. I get it. As a fan, you want to have hope. You want to believe, right? Whether it's the Guardians being down 0-2, whether it's the Browns being 1-5. I actually don't like the Amari Cooper trade because I don't like that it signals waving the white flag when even though we all think the season's over, the team shouldn't have that attitude.
Do you think that,
We'll get to that
I
in a
said
sec,
malcontent.
Yeah, sorry, Mike. Sorry.
Okay, just real quickly, I wonder what the Browns' rationale was to moving Amari Cooper. They're seeing the same thing we're seeing.
Yeah.
But they also he may have quietly gone to them, we don't know, and said, I can't do this, guys. You gave up on me. When the rumors got out about the Ayuk trade, the potential Ayuk trade, the next day on this show, I said, guys, I think this is the beginning of the end for Amari Cooper here. And I can't say that I blame him.
Yeah.
Well,
And to your original point on the Chubb letter, I wholeheartedly concur. I want to make this last point, and this is one that makes my stomach ill. I could almost vomit. Right now, as we sit here today, there are 3 players that have worn Cleveland Browns helmets for their entire careers that are likely going to wear a gold jacket. They're under 40. 3 of them. what do we have to show for it? What team has 3 Hall of Famers that played in that span? They're all 3 under 40 years old.
I don't think Batonio's a Hall of Famer.
No, I don't either. Joe Thomas.
Myles Garrett.
Oh, you're including
Joe Thomas,
I didn't realize you were including Joe Thomas.
Myles Garrett,
gotcha.
and Nick Chubb.
Okay, yes.
And I didn't want to gas it and throw Batonio in there because I'll be honest with you. To me, it's going to take some convincing on Joel Batonio.
It's hard to get a guard.
There's very few guards in the Hall of Fame.
That's the thing.
Yeah,
we looked it up one day because you brought up that point, and I'm like, is he one of the top 7 guards ever to play football?
I don't think
Probably
so,
not, and I don't think he gets in.
Yeah.
I've got some convincing that needs to happen. But the fact is this. There are 3 players walking this planet under the age of 40 that never played a professional down for any other team but the Cleveland Browns that will likely end up in Canton. And what in the hell do we have to show for it?
0.
Nothing.
1 playoff win.
Nothing.
Yeah.
All right, guys, let's talk a little Guardians before we get back to the Amari Cooper trade and some other Browns topics. We have Leroy and Shaun joining us today. And this Guardians topic today is brought to us by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active users. It is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports, unlike other apps. On Prize Picks, it's just you against the numbers. Plus, Prize Picks puts their members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure when your picks hit. You get your money in as quick as 15 minutes. Download the Prize Picks app today and use promo code LOCKEDONNFL and get $50 instantly when you play $5. That is code LOCKEDONNFL on Prize Picks to get $50 instantly just by playing $5. You don't even have to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks, run your game when you want. Another loss for the Guards, down 2-0. What was your big takeaway from yesterday's game, guys?
That the Guardians are playing like absolute crap. I mean, that's it.
Stage too big for them.
They're overwhelmed, guys. They're overwhelmed.
Stage is too big.
My thoughts on you guys as baseball guys. I'm going to sit here probably and watch you guys for a little bit, so I'm going to have a take. I think when I watch the Guardians in this series, and Sarah said this to me last night, and she's not a dire baseball fan. She goes, "We're like men, or we're like boys against men." I mean, every batter for the Yankees, it seems like you're scared of, even as a fan, because you know that it's so difficult for us to produce any run support. That anytime, like when they got up 3-0, like I was like, game over. Yeah. How are the Guardians going to get 4 runs?
Yeah, and it shouldn't have been over at that point.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, listen, the Yankees. I'll say this about the Yankees: their lineup has sexier names than the Guardians. A lot of their names have had bad seasons, like Rizzo and Alex Verdugo, but those guys are performing in this series.
Rizzo kills us, Bull.
Yeah,
He's always killed us.
I mean, the guy's had a miserable year. He's towards the back end of his career, but
I know
clutch.
you said, we talked about him earlier. I said he still scares me. You said he's had a miserable year. He had a broken wrist or forearm. I can't remember.
Yeah, but even when he was healthy,
so he missed a lot of time. Well. But, Bull, I'm looking at his swings. He looks like 2016.
Yeah, I mean, he looks great right now.
Rizzo.
He rises to the occasion.
Don't you think
he's a rise to the occasion guy?
He is, and we haven't had that guy other than Brian Rocchio, who dropped the fly ball last night.
Yeah, that was bad.
Don't you guys think that veterans who have been in the playoffs and been a part of those big moments and had success recall that, and they don't have the nerves that the young players do?
Yeah,
listen, you can answer that.
Yeah.
You've played a sport for your whole life.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, you lean back on your past successes.
Yes, but that's not an excuse for the guy.
No, it's not an excuse.
It's not an excuse for Jose. It's not an excuse. I don't think I don't think Jose or Naylor are not playing well because the lights are too bright. I think they're just not playing well. It's the nature of baseball sometimes. But
Brian Rocchio right now looks like an MVP.
He is. The baseball looks like a beach ball to him at the plate.
When they called him out on the 2-2 pitch, that was a ball. That was not a strike.
It was close.
I went back and looked at it. It was out of the zone by about maybe an
missed
inch
a couple
to 2
of pitches.
inches. For the most part, the umpire was pretty good.
Yeah.
But I only bring that up to say this. He's got a grinding at-bat going on. He's grinding. He's seeing all kinds of different pitches. And at no point is he wildly off. He's seeing everything. And he knew that ball was out of the zone. That's why he spit on it.
Yeah.
And so what would have happened if he got to see a 3-2 pitch in that situation? It seems like all of these close breaks are going against us. One of the things I did was chart, because I said yesterday on Channel 3 there were 3 keys. Must score first. Gotta put that Yankee crowd into trance.
Didn't happen.
That didn't happen. You gotta play a perfect game if you're the Guardians to win. You cannot beat yourself. The first run of the game is scored because we drop an easy fly ball.
That was Little League.
And check. And my third thing was the superstars have to be superstars. because theirs are.
Right. Well, Judge hadn't been until that home run.
No, but he homered. They've got, from their superstars, they've got 3 home runs in 2 games.
Yep.
And 3 different superstars. And my fourth one, and this one drives me nuts, because I understand as a pitcher how much help you give me if you start swinging at my garbage. I charted the first, and I stopped because I was nauseous. I couldn't do it anymore. I charted the Guardians' first 46 swings last night.
Yeah.
23, half of their swings were at balls that were out of the strike zone.
Well, and
you can't do that.
That's a summary of everything that they were not, that they are in this series.
God, you nailed it.
They were disciplined during the season at the plate. They've been totally undisciplined in the series.
They forgot all about it.
They were sharp as attack in the field during the season. They've been a mess in the field during the season. They ran the bases great. They haven't run the bases great. Their bullpen was lights out. It hasn't been lights out. It hasn't been terrible, but like Gaddis giving the home run to Judge. And listen, it's Aaron Judge. I'm not going to kill him. I didn't think it was a home run off the bat. And maybe, because it looked like Lane Thomas was going to catch it, and then it just kept going and going. It's Aaron Judge, but yes, they have to play. They cannot shoot themselves in the foot.
They got to be perfect.
And they did it. They've done it. It cost them 2 runs in the first game with the wild pitches. And again, I think that was more Bo Naylor than Cantillo, in my opinion. And if the ball's in front of you, you saw what Austin Wells did yesterday. He saved the run with Ramirez at third. That was a great play.
Yep.
Otherwise, it's 3-3. Who knows what happens?
I thought Ramirez was going to get thrown out too.
Oh, because he was
so
way
far
off
down the line.
But Jay, they're 1 for 11 in the 2 games with runners in scoring position.
They left 11 guys on base last night.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy. You can't never come through with a hit.
There's one other stat that I think is worth throwing out there. I led the show off by saying if you're a lunatic, idiot fan like me, you're looking for reasons.
I still think they got a chance. It's not likely, but
there's a 15% chance historically that they're going to come back and win. I'm going to give everybody a number that will give you hope.
Okay, good.
This is a Yankee team that I think we're getting blinded by the pinstripes. I really do.
They're good.
They're a very good team.
Yeah, but they're not an all-time Yankee team.
They're not unbeatable.
No, not at all.
This isn't the A-Rod and Jeter Yankees when they won the World Series. This is a team that has okay pitching. Yes, they have 3 Herculean bats in their lineup. I think the most dangerous of all of them is Soto.
Right now,
I think with Stanton, isn't what he used to be, but he'll still kill you if you groove a fastball.
Sure.
But the point I want to make on why there's hope, this Yankee team this year, 6 different times during the course of the regular season, lost 4 out of 5 games, which is what we have to do to them right now.
That's right.
This isn't a team that's, immune from going on a losing streak. We've seen it, and we've seen it as recently as the last week of the regular season. And people might say, well, they were mailing it in. They had their playoff ticket punched. No, they did not. The Guardians were very much on their heels to try to get the 1 seed. So while those games weren't life or death for the Yankees, ask them this morning if they needed home field advantage.
Yeah.
They meant something. And against the Orioles, who were really out of it, and the Pirates, who have been playing it out the entire month of September and even August, they took 4 out of 5 against them.
That's right.
And it can happen.
It certainly can happen. The Guardians have to. Listen, when one team's playing poorly and the other team's playing well, it feels like the team playing well is much better than the team that's playing poorly.
And that it's insurmountable.
That's right. And if the Guardians keep playing the way they have the last 2 days, they're going to get swept, and that's that.
Yeah.
But we all know they are capable of playing much better. They didn't win their 92 games, whatever they finished with, because they beat up on the White Sox, as somebody said to me yesterday.
No, they
That's
didn't.
stupid. They only beat them by 1 game in the standings. They played in a tough division. The American League Central is tough. It's just as good as the East. The Yankees, they have more veterans.
You could say it's better than the East, Bull. You could.
Well,
the results are there were 3 teams that got in the playoffs, and the 4th wasn't eliminated until 3 days left in the regular season.
True.
2 days left, I think.
But I think the White Sox are so bad that it kind of weighs down the Central a little bit. But it's close. It's not like it was in the past where the Yankees and Red Sox and all these teams would be good, and it'd be the Guardians and everybody else would suck in the Central. They're being tested during the regular season, unlike in the past. So they are prepared for this moment. They haven't played it that way. I think people killing Stephen Vogt off Game 2, I don't understand. I got no problem with anything he did. He's handicapped. The catchers can't hit. They haven't gotten a hit in the series. You knew Hedges was not going to get a hit with the bases loaded. But
by the way, he looked at 2 strikes and swung at a ball.
Yeah.
And that's okay, Austin, I get you're not Giancarlo Stanton.
Yeah.
Fine. Don't make my job as the pitcher easier. Because I will tell you right now, he was sitting in the dugout after the second inning, and he's looking at the surface, and he's looking at what's going on. Yeah. And between he and Wells, this is what they're saying.
Don't throw him strikes.
Don't throw it over the plate.
Right.
Don't. They're going to help you.
That's right.
And it's. I was laughing at certain points. They were actually throwing pitches that were a foot out of the strike zone.
Yeah.
So what the hell? Let's take a chance. I'll take a flyer on it. Maybe they'll swing.
I mean, often, sometimes, when you're a great hitter, you're going to get a hit even if it's a good pitch. But a high percentage of extra base hits are the pitcher making a mistake. Well, if the pitcher is throwing the ball purposely out of the strike zone, he's much less likely to make a mistake in the middle of the zone.
He's not going to.
And so you're not going to get that great opportunity if you're swinging at everything out of the strike zone.
Leroy's on the phone, so we've got to go. But I really wanted to ask Bull this question, and I know we have the benefit of the results, and hindsight is 20/20. I love the move to put Pedro on the line on the active roster. I said that.
Yeah.
Yesterday they were forced because of the injury to Cobb to put Ben Lively on the roster. We talked about it. I didn't love the fact that they left him off the roster in the first place. He was their second best starter this year. To me, it seemed nonsensical that he would not be on the playoff roster. And you had Walters on the playoff roster. And I know it's a matchup thing or out of the bullpen.
No, I agree.
Lively looked great yesterday.
Honestly, I'd start him game 5. I would start, you're going to start Boyd tomorrow.
Well, listen, is Bybee on the table? That was the other thing I wanted to ask you. No, for tomorrow. They talked about it during the telecast, and I think Ron Darling brought it up. And I said, Ron, that's a brilliant point.
Yeah.
He's got a full day rest, and he threw, 30 pitches?
At the very least, he could pitch game 4.
That was not the Tanner Bybee that we've seen.
No,
it wasn't. And he got a couple of bad breaks that went against him, and you blink, and he's out of the game. And I know you didn't like the fact that he was laughing at the decision to pull him.
Yeah.
I was laughing. I'm like, come on, what are we becoming?
But I had no problem with him getting pulled. He had 5 hard hits.
I understand.
It's game 2.
Smith came in and got the job done.
Right.
But you're firing your second best reliever in the second inning is a recipe for disaster.
It is. They can't do it the whole series. They need Matthew Boyd or whoever starts game 3 to pitch really well.
If it's Boyd,
I do think Bybee is a decent chance will come back and start one of the 3 games in Cleveland.
I think there's a very
good chance. We're
going
to talk a little more Guardians at the end of the show. So that is not the last of the Guardians talk today, but we got to bring in Leroy, and Leroy's brought to us by LinkedIn Solutions. When you're hiring for your small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role, and that's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help you find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. LinkedIn isn't just a job board. It helps you hire professionals you can't find anywhere else, even those who aren't actively searching for a new job but might be open to the perfect role. In any given month, over 70% of LinkedIn users don't visit other leading job sites, so if you're not looking on LinkedIn, you're looking in the wrong place. On LinkedIn, 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours, so you can hire professionals like a professional on LinkedIn. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. That is linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. And with that, we welcome Leroy Hoard to the show. How you doing today, Leroy?
What's up? Can I give you guys a little hope?
Okay.
Please.
As far as the Guardians?
Yes.
You realize I just went through the Stanley Cup Finals where the Panthers took a 3-0 lead.
Yeah.
And it went to Game 7.
Yeah, it happens.
And all the things that you're talking about, I'm more than sure they were talking about in Edmonton. Like, what are we doing? They can't do this. They can't do that.
You're right.
They won 3 in a row. So one of the incredible things about the 7-game series is just that. So
time to bounce
calm
back.
down.
That's right.
Right. Like there's time, especially in the sport where you play 162 games. They've never had a 2-game losing streak.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Yeah. Listen, I agree 100%.
Yeah. Leroy, I wanted to start with Amari Cooper. Do you think that the Browns trading Amari Cooper signals that they are waving the white flag on the season?
Guess what? I used the analogy. I went to the rim place and bought some $4,000 rims, but I drive a Fiat. So those rims are just sitting in the garage. You see what I'm saying? Yep. Amari Cooper is one of the best at what he does. if you can't get it to him, then what good is he doing on your team? And I have been an apologist for Deshaun Watson, and you guys have heard me over the last 3 years.
Yes.
But here's what I did. I watch film, and there's guys open. And sometimes there's 2 or 3 guys you could pick a guy to throw it to, and he's not throwing it. So I don't know how else to explain that. And so then I went one step farther. I went and watched him in Houston. And here's what I realized. That he held the ball a lot. He had some tremendous receivers he was throwing it to that got open, right? You give them enough time, they'll get open. That's the way it works. Football has changed a little bit in that for the first time in a long time, all of quarterbacking is based more on timing. Now, you have the guys who can create plays outside the pocket and who can run the football. We know those guys, the Jaden Daniels, the Lamar Jacksons, Josh Allens. We have guys who can do that. But if you look at a majority of quarterbacking in the league right now, it's drop back, time release, slants, and everybody who's doing well in that system, in these systems, Kirk Cousins is going to play quarterback forever because he can throw the football out of the pocket. You have a couple other guys like that. So I don't know. Some quarterbacks take that timing thing and means get rid of the ball quickly. And so they all become short passes. Where the timing portion of it is you reading a selected guy on the field and getting rid of it quickly. But the timing portion of it is timing up with the receivers. They haven't been doing that well. And there's only one place you can go with that. If there's guys open and they're not getting the ball, it's the quarterback. And I've been the last person to take this stance. And before I took a stance like this, I did all the research. And it sucks. I hate having to do this, but I'm always going to be honest about what a situation is, or try to be as honest as I can. And the fact of the matter is, he is not looking where he should be looking, Deshaun Watson. He's not getting the ball to where it needs to go. I don't know why. And so that has to be fixed. Having Amari Cooper or not, is not going to fix that.
Leroy, to your point, it's a great point about the timing. It's funny because did you watch that crazy game between Baltimore and Cincinnati a couple weeks ago?
Yeah.
So,
I did.
You know, both quarterbacks put up like crazy numbers. I think Burrow threw for 400 yards. Lamar threw for 350. Lamar had 4 touchdowns. Burrow had 5. But Burrow throws a pick late in the game and it leads to the tie, and then the Bengals screw up the field goal, and the Baltimore ends up winning in overtime. And Burrow's pick, I said, a friend of mine had asked me, like, what happened? Burrow's playing so great, he throws a pick there. I said, what happened is that Burrow throws, unlike Deshaun Watson, but a lot of the good quarterbacks like Burrow, especially because he has these great receivers. He's throwing the spots. He's like, Jamar Chase is going to be here. I'm going to throw it here because I know Jamar Chase is going to get to that spot. And when I looked at that interception again, Jamar Chase got kind of held up. He kind of ran into a defensive back, and he was unable to get to the spot. And that's why sometimes the interceptions look bad, because like, well, who was he throwing to? But Chase was supposed to be there, and he got caught up.
It's like Aaron Rodgers' interception at the end of the game.
Exactly.
No,
hold on.
Whoa.
Wait. Go ahead.
That was on Aaron Rodgers.
No, it wasn't.
First of all,
it wasn't.
Wait. The guy had to stop and come back to the ball. So wherever that ball was going, it should have been 20 yards longer.
No, I'll tell you what. Just
wherever it was going
here. But look at Ocho. What's the guy's name that breaks down plays? The former player.
Orlovsky?
No. I think it's Ocho.
For who?
Acho. What's his?
Sam
Acho.
Sam Acho.
Sam Acho.
I don't know. Maybe that's him. Go back and look at his breakdown. And when you piece together the interviews after the game, he's exactly right. They talk about the red line. That was a red line route, which is the midway point between the numbers and the sideline. The receiver was supposed to be on that route. The receiver even said so after the game. That was where I was supposed to be. He wasn't there. The reason I loved the breakdown of the play was because he shows where the ball was thrown and where the receiver was from the all 22, and you can see it plain as day. The receiver was in the wrong area code, and that's why it was picked. And where the ball was intercepted, just like Joe Burrow's, that's why interceptions are not created equal.
Sure,
they're not.
They're just not. A lot of them.
It goes to the quarterback's stats, but it's not always on the quarterback.
Yeah, and sometimes I think that's unfair.
Well, look at the throw Watson made in the first half, where the two DBs
it was an
ran
interception.
into each other.
Yeah, it was an
like that was the wide receiver was past those two guys,
but nowhere near it.
He undershot him, and that would have been his fault.
It would have been an interception had they not collided. Right. I guess let's put you on the couch for a second. And because you can jump into a player's mind. The 3-word response after the trade, I think it was move or rust or move, whatever it was.
Yeah, move or rust.
Move or rust from Amari Cooper. I've had a million different people analyze that a million different ways. Some of them said, oh, that is an absolute shot at Deshaun Watson. The way I read it was, if you're not moving on, you're getting stale. You're rusting. Like a part that sits still too long, it can rust. How do you read that statement? What does that mean?
Well, to me, it means nothing. Here's why. Because if you don't have the ability to move on from who you need to, then you're just blowing smoke. It's one of those sayings that you hear, the streets need a body. Right? The streets need something to happen to show that you care, or you're trying to make moves, or you're trying to do something. But what you need to do, you can't. So when you say move or rust, and you pick a wide receiver, that's the third stage of a catch. It goes protection, throw, catch. So why would you go to the last proponent of that and say that's a move or rust?
No, it was Amari Cooper that said move or rust, Leroy.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Again, well,
yeah,
I would say it's kind of a parting gift.
Do you think it's a shot at Watson?
Right? I think it's a shot of they moving the wrong guy. I think that's what he's saying. And you're talking about think about this. Think about this. When a different quarterback was in, Amari Cooper had 265 receiving.
That's exactly right.
So why wouldn't he feel that way? Just based on that.
Leroy, you want to be sickened by a stat? Guess who the Browns' leading touchdown maker on the roster right now today is? Take a wild guess.
I know the answer.
I know you do. Rodney
it's got to be Myles Garrett.
It's Rodney McLeod.
Yeah.
Rodney McLeod has scored 2 touchdowns, and currently, on the Browns stat page, he leads the team in touchdowns. And there you go.
Yeah. That's like equivalent of Ben Roethlisberger being the all-time wins leader.
You're right.
Stadium.
It's the same
It's so
stat.
absurd.
It's such an indictment. That's Rodney
or
McLeod?
the year that Fitzpatrick led the Dolphins in rushing.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Quarterback who doesn't run. Yeah, right.
That's awful.
But it speaks to like, and I feel bad for the Browns because when they made the move, there were other teams that wanted Deshaun Watson, and they did whatever they could to get him. Right?
They were bidding against themselves
and I'm thinking,
at the end.
Well, no, they just didn't want him to leave town. So what's an extra $20 million when you're already giving somebody $200? Right? I get that. I understand that. But even when the Browns finally win, they lose.
No, you're right. We did victory laps when OBJ was signed. We did victory laps when Jarvis Landry came to town. We did victory laps. I've never seen victory laps like the Deshaun Watson victory laps I had to watch.
Right.
And so you're right. Even when we think we win, we lose. Watch. Amari Cooper's going to the Super Bowl this year. Am I picking the Bills for any other reason? No, it's just Browns karma. We'll have to watch that this year. And it might be against Baker Mayfield.
Amari Cooper's really good. And
now he's got a really good quarterback.
I've seen a number of players who are really good that didn't have production on a team that was struggling, and we all associated to the player being bad.
Right.
You see, and it's unfair because that's when you have to really break things down and say, well, is he really bad or are we really bad? And he's, a proponent of that, because if he was doing well, the team wouldn't be as bad. So I don't know. I'm just frustrated. I'm frustrated that, I was on the bandwagon, say, hey, let's just ride these 11 games out. When he comes back, he'll warm up those first 6 games, and then he start getting hurt, and then Deshaun, other things, and I don't know. And for goodness sakes, they are trying everything. Right? You have tried every level of offense to help this man be successful. But when you see guys open, that's good offense. When you see guys running routes and being where they're supposed to be and waving hands, hey, I'm open, that's good offense.
Leroy, Nick Chubb's going to come back. Jay Crawford thinks that he could be Batman and save the season. I don't think so. I think he's going to be
idiot fan Jay Crawford.
Okay. So Jay's alter ego, idiot fan, thinks that Nick Chubb can be Batman and save the day. I don't think it's going to happen. I think he's going to be good. I think he's going to put up numbers. He's going to help the team stabilize somewhat. But I still don't think they're a playoff team even with Nick Chubb. What do you say? What do you say,
Win
partner?
one game. Win one game and
get to the next.
Go from there. Stop worrying about playoff contention and all this. Right now, you need to focus on right now, one game at a time, because you're so deep in the hole that, you just need little victories. Little victories. So
I get
Nick
that,
Chubb,
but can the return of Nick Chubb lead to that?
It can in certain ways. Okay? Think about this. They've been struggling to do something they've been doing for the last 5 years, and that's run the football. Maybe it's the style of running back. Maybe it's the plays that they're trying to run. I don't know what that is. But I know Nick Chubb can run the football. I don't know what level Nick Chubb we're going to get, but I know he can run the football. Maybe that takes some pressure, and that creates more space in the secondary for other guys, for the wide receivers, for Deshaun Watson to find.
Because there's a threat there.
And so, right. So what I'm hoping for is that a chain reaction of things to start happening. If you run the ball successfully, then your play action works more successfully. Then your receivers have more success. And it kind of works from that point, because keep in mind, as long as the Browns have had a legitimate threat to run the football, that's what everybody has concentrated on.
Right.
And when they don't, now you make it harder for everybody else that's running around in the secondary.
Yeah, you're one-dimensional.
Right.
Leroy, last question, 15 seconds, please. Was it Connor Stallions that gave Ryan Day the chicken bone that he's been choking on in every big game?
Hey, man, look.
It's a shot at both teams,
It was very creative what Oregon did at the end of that game.
Brilliant. It was brilliant.
It might be one of the greatest coaching moves that I have ever seen.
I agree. I 100% agree.
That being said,
they're going to lose to Ohio State in the
everybody on the other side of the ball should have been aware.
Yeah.
Right? And so
it was next level genius.
They should have put 15 guys on the field. Then
Why not? Why not? You traded 5 yards for 4 seconds, and that they needed every one of those 4 seconds.
Right. And you could decline the penalty if you make a play, but the more guys you throw on the field, the less likely
and
you
that's
are
what
to make
Lanning
a play.
said. Lanning said, look, our odds of stopping them from getting a big play increase with every man we have on the field.
That's right.
And the penalty is still the same.
It would have been
5
funny
yards.
if the whole defense would have rounded like every player on the roster.
Lanning has literally forced the NCAA Rules Committee to go back in and investigate everything.
That's
I think they add an addendum to that. For every additional man that you have over 11, it's 5 yards.
Well, I mean,
so if you have 13, because listen, it's not any more punitive to have 15.
That's true.
Exactly.
That's true.
And if they're not gonna reset the clock, put 15 out there.
That's right.
Why not?
You gotta have some sort of rule against it.
Yeah.
Hey, I always get confused when they decide to take time off the clock, right?
Yeah.
So you either use your timeout or a 10-second runoff. I get confused by that.
Yeah, it's there's a lot to be confused by. Leroy, great to talk to you. Read the Players Tribune love letter from Nick Chubb to Cleveland, and it's a 5-minute read. It'll be the best thing you read all month. And then text me your thoughts on it later in the day. I'm really curious to see what you have to say about that.
I'll text it to you, Leroy.
See you, Leroy.
Thanks, brother.
See you next week.
Thanks, guys.
That was the great Leroy Hoard. We're going to move on to some of the Amari Cooper trade discussion after a quick word from FanDuel. Hey, NFL fans, you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So when you get in a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. That's at FanDuel.com/UCSS. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. So yesterday, the Browns made a trade. They traded Amari Cooper to the Buffalo Bills with a 6th-round pick from Detroit in return for a 3rd-round pick in this upcoming draft and a 7th-round pick in the 2020 NFL Draft. We'll talk about the cryptic message after we talk to Shaun King. We'll talk about whether or not this indicates the Browns are tanking and waving the white flag on the season. But guys, at initial face value, was this a smart move for the Cleveland Browns to make?
I don't think so, personally. I know it's easy for us to all say, well, they're not going to the playoffs, so, what's the difference? You might as well get something. He's a free agent at the end of the year. First of all, you had time. Like, the trade deadline's not this week. You had time to move him, potentially. It's not like there's that many Amari Coopers available via trade. I just think with Nick Chubb coming back this week, and against Cincinnati, who you've had success in, and you're home, why not put Kevin Stefanski just said on Monday that we're going to keep playing Deshaun Watson because he gives us the best chance to win. Now, we may not all believe that, but if he really believes that, well, you traded Amari Cooper. That doesn't give you your best chance to win. I know Amari Cooper hasn't been great, and it's easy to correlate, well, he was unhappy and so he wasn't playing great. I don't believe that. I believe that's a coincidence. I do believe in coincidences. And I still think Amari Cooper has plenty of good football left, and I would have wanted any possible good player I had until there's no chance, literally, of making the playoffs. And I thought making this trade, just when you said that, and just when you have Nick Chubb coming back, to me, I don't like it, especially because it wasn't like you got some huge haul in return. You got a 3rd-round pick. What have they done with 3rd-round picks? Nothing.
Drafted a bunch of bad wide receivers.
That's right.
Who are now selling insurance.
Yeah.
Bull, I said...
Is that what Anthony Schwartz is doing?
I don't know.
Who knows?
I don't know. I don't know where he is.
Yeah.
I said exactly what you said. And I even used the phrase, wait a minute. Stefanski is telling us he's doing everything that gives the team the best chance to win.
Right.
So here is a very simple question. Are the Browns better on offense with or without Amari Cooper playing as Amari Cooper's played this year? Let me answer that for you. We've scored 6 offensive touchdowns, maybe 7. 7. He has 2 of them.
That's right.
So, yeah, of course, the Browns' offense is better with Amari Cooper playing like ass than they're going to be without Amari Cooper. So, if you're using as the standard for big decisions that are made around this team, it gives us the best chance to win. How do you sell this?
Right.
It might give you a better chance to win in 2025.
I mean, if somebody had...
But you got nothing to add to your roster, and you took away your best touchdown maker.
Right. It's like, if the trade was too good to pass up. Because they
which it wasn't.
Okay, I could see that,
but it wasn't.
But it wasn't.
No.
It's what the Bills are going to have. It's the 85th pick of the draft. You could get a good player at 85, 90. But come on.
I've already had nightmares of having to listen to a game in December.
Yeah.
In which Amari goes for 150 and 2 touchdowns, and the announcer says the following: if it wasn't for the Cooper trade and they're fleecing Cleveland, the Bills might not be looking at home field advantage or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
This is the stuff that we have to put up with. Mm-hmm. If there's a decision to be made, it feels like they always make the wrong decision. Yeah. I'm wondering this, because I said, when's the deadline? We've got weeks here. Yeah. What are we doing?
It's November 5th.
What's the date?
November 5th.
Okay. I'm wondering this.
Yeah.
Was there any conversation internally to this? What did Amari Cooper look like in the last game he played without Deshaun Watson? What were his numbers against Houston?
Did he play in the playoff game?
Thought he did.
Yeah.
Pull it up.
Can't believe we're even asking this question. Did he play in the playoff game?
Amari Cooper last year in the playoff game had 4 receptions for 59 yards.
Okay.
The previous game before that, remember he missed the final 2 games of the season.
Yes, the game, his last game of the regular season.
His last game of the regular season.
What did he do in that game?
Nothing special. He just broke the NFL record for receiving yards in a game with 265 on 11 receptions, 2 touchdowns against the same Houston Texans. Right. He had 4 catches against in the playoffs.
Who was the quarterback?
That was Joe Flacco.
Okay. So the Browns analyzed all of this, and they decided Cooper's the problem. He's got to go.
Yeah.
Why not give him one game with Jameis Winston
and Nick Chubb
or DTR?
Yeah.
And Nick Chubb.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Right. Why not see what that looks like?
Let's roll the dice here. You know what? We're shooting darts in the dark.
Yeah.
We don't know what the hell's going to happen here. We're 1-5. But what do? Stay in the course. Quarterback gives us the best chance to win. Right. Oh, and let's take our best offensive player and ship him to a team that is going to probably win their division and roll into the playoffs.
That's it. Dustin, what did you think about it?
I was not surprised by it.
No, I guess I wasn't either.
My son, who's a diehard Bills fan, was super pumped about it because he thinks Amari is a great player, and Amari is a great player. For the Browns standpoint, it really is weird because in one stretch they're saying they're trying to win, that Deshaun gives them the best chance to win. Nick Chubb comes back this week, so that should help them, obviously, and then you get rid of your best receiver. So, you said malcontent earlier. I don't think he was malcontent.
Yeah, I retracted that.
But I know you did.
Right.
I know you did. But, I mean, I think
he wasn't happy.
I think he wasn't happy.
Yeah,
why would you be happy? If you're getting the football thrown to you, and good balls, by the way, that he can catch, and he's putting up those numbers with guys who aren't even on the roster anymore, quarterback-wise, and you got this guy who's getting paid all that money, who's supposed to be the savior, and they keep sticking with him, and you're not getting the numbers. Dude, I'd be frustrated too. Amari's not a diva, but dude's a human being, and he's put up big numbers throughout his career.
Looking for a contract.
Why would you, why do we have to sit here and act like the guy's got to be a choir boy and just take it?
Yeah.
Understand frustration.
He hasn't played great this year.
He had 6 bad games.
Yeah.
He had 6 bad games. He had a couple touchdowns in there. But, I mean, for the most part, he had 6 bad games.
Yeah.
And I agree with Jay. He's going to go to Buffalo and make them a lot better.
Yeah. Well, he's their number one receiver.
Dude, Josh Allen is a top 5 quarterback.
Yeah.
If he did 265 with Joe Flacco, what the hell is he going to do with Josh? Josh Allen's the happiest man in America.
Oh, yeah.
Last night on Channel 3, I said this. Normally, I judge trades one way. Who was the winner and who was the loser? And this trade's different. The winner in this one was Amari Cooper.
Well, I think and the Bills, too.
The Bills, undoubtedly.
But certainly
because,
Amari Cooper.
What did the Bills give up? A third for next year?
Yeah.
Now, let me ask a hypothetical here. Yeah. I asked this to many people yesterday. Browns get boat raced Sunday.
Yeah.
Let's say they lose.
Yeah.
The Detroit Lions call. Now, the Detroit Lions were on a Super Bowl trajectory.
Right.
They were playing that game against Dallas, and Dallas is always overrated.
Well, but Dallas
I wasn't
is usually
surprised
good in the
that they
regular
beat
season.
Dallas. I was surprised in the manner they beat them at their place.
Yeah.
It was so bad when the Cowboys tweeted a picture of the NFL record crowd that showed up to watch that game. It was a wide shot. They actually blurred the scoreboard, the numbers on the scoreboard, so you couldn't see what they had to watch.
Right.
But I bring all that up to say this. The Lions are very much in the Super Bowl contender group of 3 or 4 teams in the NFC. They lost their Myles Garrett.
Yeah.
A guy that, quite frankly, was on pace to be the Myles Garrett. He was going to win the NFL Defensive Player of the Year. This guy was playing at an out of his mind pace. 7 sacks already.
Yeah.
What if they call after the Browns lose, should they lose on Sunday, and offer an appropriate package for Myles Garrett so they can stay in that Super Bowl contender range?
I think you have to consider it. I mean,
I
an
do
appropriate package to me is at least 1 first-round pick and more.
I need a 1. I probably need a 2 the next year. At this point, a lot of people don't want to realize this. The longer you kick the rebuild can down the road, the longer the rebuild takes to start. If they lose Sunday, they're in full-on rebuild mode.
The only thing
and you better start collecting picks.
The only thing you worry about trading Myles Garrett is that what if you, and I know this feels impossible because the Browns have never done this, but what if you, in the draft next year, hit the next C.J. Stroud, the next Jaden Daniels, and now you traded Myles Garrett. Now maybe the draft picks you got from Myles Garrett are other good young players, and all of a sudden the turnaround happens quick. And that's the only way it's going to happen quick. If the Browns don't hit on a quarterback in the draft next year, which I can't believe I'm saying, then they're going to suck for the next bunch of years. I mean, it's that simple. That's their only hope.
They're 5 years away at this
Not
point.
if they hit on the quarterback in the draft. That's the only hope.
What is your look? If they fire Paul DePodesta and Andrew Berry, and we get a new person in here to analyze the skill in the draft, then I'll have some hope.
Yeah, listen, I don't know that I would trust
quarterbacks is such a crapshoot.
Oh my God!
I don't know that I would trust Jimmy to pick the next GM correctly anyway. But if we just assume that you get it wrong all the time, then what are you going to do?
No, I don't either. But I do know this: the people that we have there now have no track record of success. None.
And you know,
Andrew Berry and Paul DePodesta, none.
We also know that we nailed our draft pick when it came to finding a quarterback to help us break down the weekly Deshaun Watson film, and that is with Shaun King every week, and Shaun's going to be brought to us today by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active users. All you do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections, and you can watch the winnings roll in. Prize Picks puts their members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. When your picks hit, you get your money back in as quick as 15 minutes. Download the Prize Picks app today and use promo code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 instantly when you play $5. That is promo code LOCKEDONNFL on Prize Picks to get $50 when you play 5. And you don't even have to win to receive the bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks, run your game when you want. And with that, we are thrilled to welcome in Shaun King to the show. How you doing today, Shaun?
I'm good. I bring good news today, too, guys. I bring good news.
Oh, do we need some of that? Well, let's
Good
get right to
news.
it. Yeah, let's get right to the show.
Shaun,
Saved a bunch of money in your car insurance?
by switching to Geico? I mean, what good news could there be? We got the worst quarterback in the league, Shaun.
And the Guardians lost.
And the Guardians lost.
So, yeah,
And we traded our best offensive player.
Guardians got to hit the baseball with runners in scoring position. They left a lot of guys on base.
By the way, where are the Tampa Bay Rays going to play next year?
No,
Shaun?
listen, that is a great question. This is a major problem.
Yeah,
it's a major.
Yeah,
they're going to have to. They might have to move to a new city.
Yeah, it's going to be wild.
Maybe
anyway,
as Marlo Stansfield said in The Wire, that's one of those good problems. They needed to get out of the shop anyway. If this speeds it up, so be it. But let's get to your Browns.
Yeah.
So anytime you lose 4 games in a row, you're sitting at 1-5 on this season. Everything looks like it's doom and gloom. But I'm going to view this last game, even though it's a loss to the Eagles, in a slightly different prism, and here's why. Second game in the week, they got points off of special teams and defense. That's a plus. That means guys are still playing hard, guys haven't given up. And although Deshaun still is struggling to make his layups, this was the best game the offensive line has played all year. They did do a good job opening up holes in the run game. This was as good as the pass protection has been. So there were some things that I thought happened in the Eagles game that make me think the offense is getting closer to being a consistent producer. Anytime you can't, find success on third down, I think they were 3rd or 12. The yardage isn't going to be significant and substantial. But I'm telling you, they did a better job run blocking, and they were damn good in pass protection in this game. So I know everybody in Cleveland is upset, mad, want to burn the franchise down, but there were some good things that happened. And I'll say this, I'm not a huge Mr. Berry fan, your GM, but you got to tip the hat. He got more for Amari Cooper than the Raiders potentially got for Devontae Adams.
I will say you're right on that.
So there are some bright spots in this game. At the end of the day, it came down to Deshaun missed too many layups. He had some opportunities, especially early in the game, when him and Amari just couldn't connect. You could say a couple of throws were off. I just think, for whatever reason, Deshaun's missing too many layups. But there were some good things that happened in this game. And remember, they're 1-5. That's 6 games. The season's 17 games. That means they have 11 left. They're about to get Nick Chubb back. I would say in the trade, the one thing I wish they would have been able to get from Buffalo was a young receiver. I think losing Amari does leave them short at the position.
No, they can pick up Valdez-Scantling. You're going to cut him?
Yeah.
Pick him up.
I agree.
Or call the Jets about Mike Williams, maybe. They don't need him anymore.
They don't want him anymore.
By the way, you could have Aaron Rodgers. I'm just saying.
It could be worse.
That would be worse.
It could be worse.
Hey,
what?
Whoa. Aaron Rodgers would be worse than Deshaun Watson?
Guys, you know the most amazing thing about what's going on in New York that nobody will say out loud, so I'm going to yell it from the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show platform.
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers not playing good.
No, I agree with you, Sean, but he's not playing worse than Deshaun Watson.
I mean,
I thought he played well Monday night. I do. I thought he played very well.
I mean, he's got here's the thing that I don't get with the Aaron Rodgers narrative, and I know we're on a Cleveland show, but this needs to be said. Breece Hall was like a top 3 running back before Aaron Rodgers got there. This is his first good game. Garrett Wilson was rookie of the year before Aaron Rodgers got there. Now he just looks like an okay kind of receiver with their flashes. Like Mike Williams, when healthy with Justin Herbert, was a deep threat, big play wide receiver. Like the fact that Aaron got in that press conference and tried to place blame on Mike Williams for that interception.
He didn't try to.
That's ludicrous. That's ludicrous.
Yeah, but
they fired the defense. They fired Coach Salah, and the Jets hadn't given up more than 20 points but once. He's a defensive coach.
Yeah. Let me ask you this, Sean. Get back to our team. I made the point earlier in today's show that I thought there were signs of growth from first half to second half in Deshaun Watson. I'm not sure what happened, but he was 11 of 12 in the second half after an abysmal first half. Even though the result was different, it kind of mirrored what he did in Baltimore in the game he got injured in last year. He was probably as bad as he had ever been in a half of football in the first half against the Ravens last year, and he threw a perfect game in the second half, and it led to an unlikely win, thanks in part to a huge play by the defense.
How can I be excited about the second half? They scored 6 points.
Let me finish. My point was, we're looking for silver linings here, okay?
Right.
He did not complete the most important drive of the game that would have given the Browns the lead. So, yes, I'm not saying it was a perfect performance, but I saw things in that 11 of 12 that I haven't seen this year. So I'm trying to hold on to anything. Did you see anything in the second half that maybe he's finally figured something out?
Yeah, I think that's why I said I brought hope today. I really did. And you know me, I feel like the truth don't have emotions. So when I come on you guys' great platform on Wednesdays, I just really tell you what I saw on tape. And they did some better things offensively. The offensive line played good. I thought Pierre Strong was really good in the screen game. I thought Deshaun missed some layups, but I thought he calmed down and made some big throws. Now they're struggling where a lot of NFL offenses are struggling, and that's red zone efficiency. Mm-hmm. They got down to the red zone. They settled for field goals. They got to figure out how to score touchdowns. But that's a problem going around the entire league.
Yeah, Kansas City's having the same problem.
Yeah, so are the Jets. I would say this. I don't know if you guys noticed it, but Stefanski designed more quarterback run type plays than I've seen in a while. Mm-hmm. So regardless of what Deshaun said in that press conference, it does seem like they're adding that wrinkle to their offense as well. So I'm not saying that it's fixed, guys, but I'm saying I saw some things that they can build upon for next week.
So you're saying there's a chance.
But, Shaun, a lot of the stuff you're saying is not specifically the quarterback. It's the stuff around the quarterback that's improved. Is that fair?
But you have to get better around the quarterback before you can blame the quarterback. You see what I'm saying? Like, if you're going to blame the quarterback, to me, then the things around him need to be not perfect, but I mean, in good enough working condition that it's ultimately his fault. You can honestly critique the offensive line as having been terrible in pass protection before this game. They were not good at all. They were extremely average in run blocking.
Yeah.
So there were some other things around this, and I'm not making excuses for Deshaun. I've said from week one, listen, when they pay you that kind of money, they expect you to make your layups. He's still missing too many layups, but the things around him got better against the Eagles.
If you're the Browns, how do you handle Nick Chubb this week?
I just think it depends on where you feel like he is health-wise. I mean, because you pay him to play football, right?
Yeah.
So if he's healthy, then he should play. How we're doing in the season, where we are, 1-5, 5-1, that doesn't matter. To me, it's strictly a health thing. Like, Nick Chubb gets paid to play football. If he's healthy, then he should be playing. If he's not healthy, then you have an excuse to give him more time to get completely healthy.
So, but you wouldn't limit his carries? I mean, are you giving him a full boat of carries right away, even though he hasn't played in a year and change? If he's 100%, which I'm sure he is, otherwise they wouldn't be activating him. Are you treating him as if he's been playing every week in terms of carries, or do you maybe give him half of what you normally would?
Ease him back.
I mean, what do you think?
Well, it's interesting because the Browns don't play any of their starters in the preseason, which is ludicrous. He's kind of where the rest of the team was in week one, right?
Yeah.
In their first live action. I think Nick Chubb is different. I think he's in that Adrian Peterson category of human being. Will Italian used to always tell our guys, we heal different around here. So, I mean, if Chubb says he's healthy, I wouldn't go in with a game plan, but I would go in with a very specific eye on how he looks. Like, you can tell when a running back looks fatigued. Okay, we got to get Chubb a couple series off. You can tell, all those things, but you probably won't know until he plays. I would go in with an open mind. Is Ford going to be available? I know he tweaked a hammy or something in his last game. But Chubb makes all those guys around him better. So I would not go in with parameters on Nick Chubb. We're going
I don't know
see how it looks.
Yeah, to your point, Shaun, I don't know. I don't think we know about Ford yet. We'll see the injury report today. But I think, a point you brought up, I've said this a couple of times. Whenever it's been very infrequent, but in the last 2 years, when Pierre Strong's had an opportunity, I think he's looked decent. Obviously, I don't want to take away carries from Nick Chubb, but it might be Pierre Strong that's getting the other carries if Jerome Ford can't go.
So here's how I evaluate play callers, whether it's the head coach or it's the offensive coordinator. Your job, and I'll look through this prism from now on when you're watching offensive football. Your job is to get your best players the ball in space. A guy that does a tremendous job of that is Andy Reid. If Xavier Worthy would have got drafted by someone that was going to line him up at X or Z and have him be a static receiver, he might not have 2 catches. Here. All right. Those guys, Anthony Schwartz's, Pierre Strong's, your good coordinators know how to get those guys the ball in space so they can utilize the trait they have, which is top-end elite speed, to their advantage. So when you watch the Browns, one of the things that frustrates me is, why is Amari Cooper the deep ball threat on so many of these design passing plays? Amari can't run anymore. He may go to Buffalo and be a solid contributor to the Bills' offense, but let's be honest, Amari's legs are gone. Amari, I know he had that one catch against the Raiders with the phantom holding call, but I mean, Amari had to hit every ounce of juice he had to get up that sideline.
Yeah, he was never a top-speed guy anyhow, but you're right. Why are we throwing to a guy that's an elite route runner? Why are we having him just run nines? Like, doesn't make much sense.
Right. When you throw a wide receiver screen, why isn't Elijah Moore catching it? He's got more make you miss in space than some of those other guys. I just think you have to when you're calling plays, to simplify it can't be about your system. It has to be about your personnel. And you look. And the thing Andy Reid does is great, the personnel changes every year in Kansas City, but the results don't because they adapt that system to the personnel.
Yeah, I asked Leroy Hoard this question. We just had him on before you. Can the Browns? I mean, the Browns are 1-5.
1-5.
It's very unlikely for teams that are 1-5 to make the playoffs, especially a team like the Browns playing with such bad quarterback play. Sometimes teams, that start 1-5. Maybe their starting quarterback has been out. Maybe they had a key injury. The player comes back, something like that. But this is not the case with the Browns. I mean, they are what they are. They're going to add Nick Chubb, a running back, but I don't see them drastically, significantly getting better here in week 7, 8, 9, so on and so forth, to a point where they can make the playoffs. What do you think this team's ceiling is?
They got to get a win first, D. Before I can go macro, they got to get a win. They got to beat Cincinnati. Cincinnati's a winnable football game. Mm-hmm. I think before, and listen, I don't know what's the fancy saying in the building, but this is what the conversation got to be. We got to go 1-0, guys. The Bengals are beatable. Like, they're not a better football team than us. You got to start right there. I would say this to kind of put in context this 4-game losing streak. They lost by 6, they lost by 4, they lost by 4. So they're in these games. This is not like, they're the Jacksonville Jaguars. And
Shaun, I love you. Shaun, I love you. I love you. With that being said, that 70% of games are decided by 3 points or less. So I don't want to, bite your head off with that. But
no, the truth doesn't have emotions.
Tell that to Dallas.
You're a negative. D, you're a negative Nancy today because you're sitting in the middle, of just mess. You're in the middle of mess. When you get in your car and you leave there,
can I tell you something, Shaun?
At you. When you go to the sports bar, people are, Deshaun sucks. I'm telling you, it's not as bad as you think it is, and it's fixable.
Listen, man, you're in Vegas and in Tampa, okay? I'm in Ohio. It's 40 degrees and it's raining. The Guardians lost last night. Our football team's 1-5.
It's easy to be negative.
It's easy to be negative here, partner.
Buckeyes lose every big game they play.
Yeah, it's a lot going on.
Hey, maybe Ryan Dan Stefanski will switch next year. One day he'll take over the Browns and Stefanski will coach OSU.
I'd take Vrabel as the Browns coach or the Buckeyes coach at this point.
Yeah, well.
Okay, I want to be very clear in what I'm saying, Jay. The Browns are close offensively.
See?
And everywhere else, they're kind of carrying their own weight right now. Defense is playing good. Special teams is handling their business. It's going to sound crazy, but I saw some subtle things that improved against Philly. They are close.
I agree.
Let's hope Shaun's right.
I agree.
I mean, he's the.
I'll take it, Shaun.
Yeah.
Listen, we want the team to be successful. We want them to win. It sucks coming in here talking about this crappy team.
Yeah.
So I'll take the positivity from you.
Yes, I will too. Shaun's always been a positive
guy. I'd love that.
Shaun, we got to let you go, but if you will, go to Emmanuel Acho's Twitter page. I see he's pinned this tweet. He broke down the Aaron Rodgers pick at the end of the game. And I'm just curious to get your thoughts on what you think about his breakdown, because I love the way Acho ended the tweet. He said, "Don't just watch football, learn football." And I really think that he's on, but you being a quarterback, you would know this.
Okay.
And so while Shaun watches it, I'll explain it a little bit. I did touch on it earlier. The pick was a ball that he threw that was supposed to be a red line route, and the receiver got bumped off the spot and was not in the right spot. The ball went to the right spot. It's just the receiver wasn't there. I bring this up just to say that all interceptions are not created equal. We know they're different. I happen to be closely aligned with, and God knows I'm not a Deshaun Watson apologist, but I am curious to see with Nick Chubb back in the offense. I would have loved to see what this offense could have looked like with Nick Chubb and Amari Cooper, and a Deshaun that might be learning from some of his past mistakes. But I'm with him on the optimism piece. I think there are reasons to be excited. Now, look, that doesn't mean they're not going to get beaten badly Sunday by Cincinnati. And if they lose, all hope is gone. But to his point, I do think the defense is hanging on. I'm not completely sure that they've let go of the rope yet.
The close games don't really matter to me. I agree with Dustin. Most games are close in the NFL. I did think there was improvement from the offensive line. I agree there, but most of the improvement Shaun talked about was not about the quarterback. It was. At
one point, it was 11 of 12 in the second half.
I just don't. I'm not that impressed by that. I mean, he's dinking and dunking between the 20s.
It's better than the 5 for 13 or whatever it was in the first half.
Completion percentages are way up across the league, and he's the only one. So I can't get excited about one good half where he went 11 for 12
3 passes over 10 yards.
Did you guys watch?
Well,
Excuse me. Did you guys watch the second half and think to yourself, "Man, Watson's playing awesome"?
No,
I never once thought that.
Yeah, in fact, I was surprised when they said he was 11-11 in the second half. I'm like, wow. Really?
I said the same thing.
The only pass that he made the whole game where I was impressed, from my perspective, was that one slant throw that got him
on the big third down pickup.
The one that went through like 3 defenders.
Yeah, that was a really
I
good
said the
throw.
same thing. I'm like, that's a hell of a throw.
That was the only throw all day that I was like, wow.
Well, Shaun will tell you.
Shaun's going to break that down with us today.
One throw can get a quarterback on track and build his confidence, and then it's a hell of a lot better than throwing a pick, which will go the other way.
Straws at this point, unfortunately.
Shaun, did you see the
breakdown? I thought he made a really good throw on a crossing route too, off a play action pass. I thought he had some good balls. I watched it. So here's how I was taught, and here's how I teach quarterbacks: don't let someone else's mistake become your problem. So here's why I put blame back on Aaron Rodgers. Okay, you can make a case that Mike should have stayed wide on the red line, but Mike didn't. So if you notice, it's 3rd and 10, right, in a 3-point game and late in the fourth quarter. He has Breece Hall open for a 9-yard gain, and Breece is probably going to get the extra yard and pick up the first down. So my thing when I go back to these situations, and I'm talking like I'm talking to Aaron right now, well, why the hell did you throw it?
Yeah.
If he wasn't on the red line where he's supposed to be, we've got the check down option in our face. We're in a damn dogfight, scratching and clawing, trying to win a game. Why did you let his mistake become your problem? Why throw the football? Throw the ball to Breece Hall.
That's
why I don't give.
Yeah,
I don't give quarterbacks a scapegoat. Well, he didn't get deep enough. Why the hell you throwing the ball?
Shaun,
well, he didn't get a release.
Quickly, because we have to go. In that spot, and I know that you were an undersized quarterback. You didn't have the ability to look over the line like some of these guys do today. But in that spot, and Aaron Rodgers isn't a tall quarterback by any means, can you see that your guy isn't on his mark?
Yes, you feel it, and you understand spacing. You understand spacing because the 2 vertical routes kind of got congested. You can feel that. Absolutely, you can feel that. But what Rodgers won't admit is he's not as talented as he used to be. Like all of those off-platform, sidearm, off-balance throws that he used to make consistently as he was younger, he's older now. He can't make those throws. Like, when you watch the next Jets game, I just want you to look at Rodgers' ball location and see how many times it's bad.
Yeah, as a wise man once said, we're not what we used to be, and we never will be again. Shaun, we're always smarter after we have
keep
you
the
on.
faith.
And today's wisdom is keep the faith, and also don't let another player's mistake become your problem.
Hey, there's a song
that should be on every locker room in the NFL.
Hey, there's a song that they sing in church all the time down in the South. It's called Better Days Are Coming. That's what's happening for the Browns. Better days are coming.
We love you, brother. You're awesome. Thanks man. We'll talk to you next week.
That is Shaun King. We'll see him again on Friday on the WKYC show. Shaun and I are going to break down some of Deshaun's throws against the Eagles this afternoon. You guys can see that on Friday. We're going to move back to a little bit of the Amari Cooper situation after a quick word from LinkedIn Solutions. When you're hiring for your small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help you find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. LinkedIn isn't just a job board. It helps hire professionals you can't find anywhere else, even those who aren't actively searching for a new job but might be open to the perfect role. In any given month, over 70% of LinkedIn users don't visit other leading job sites. So if you're not looking on LinkedIn, you're looking in the wrong place. On LinkedIn, 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. Hire professionals like a professional on LinkedIn. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. That is linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. So after the news of the trade broke yesterday, Amari Cooper, who doesn't use social media often, decided to get on his Instagram, and he posted this. And I quote, "Move or rust? Dustin, what does that cryptic IG post mean to you?
I think that it signifies that he was very unhappy here, miserable, if you will. And what he's saying, I think, is, if he stays here, he's going to rust. He's going to rot. Mm-hmm. He's not going to obviously get his money next year or as much as he would have liked had he, put up big numbers. And I don't know if it's personal or not between him and Deshaun, but I think he's certainly frustrated with the situation, probably with the organization. Remember, he was frustrated with the organization when they, the contract stuff, when they were trying to work out some of that stuff back. What was that, like in the spring?
Yeah,
something like that. So I think he's upset, but also happy that he's moving on. Dude's gonna wake up today with a renewed lease on his football life.
Oh. As much as a player can.
I don't think it's a personal shot at Watson. Right. I just don't think he would do that. I think people are inferring that because there's been a lot of talk about Deshaun Watson being rusty, and so it's easy to go rust. I think there is some shot at the organization a little bit as a whole. Like, I was rusting here, I need to go and get my money.
Bull,
but I don't buy that it was specifically a shot at Watson.
I'm in line with both you guys. I think you're absolutely right. You can read into stuff all the time and say, oh, that's a diss. It's absolutely no. He's not that kind of guy.
Nah,
he's not at all. Just like his tweet or his Instagram post after the trade rumors.
Yeah.
It was very short, very sweet. This guy's the most humble wide receiver that's in that caliber of wide receiver that you'll find. He's like a Calvin Johnson type. He just comes to work, does his job, stays out of the drama. He's not a diva wide receiver. When he tweeted or Instagram post after the trade rumors, I would have been fine with that.
Yeah.
We all knew what he meant. That was a shot.
Yeah.
That was a clear shot at the Browns.
Yeah.
I gave you 265 in my last regular season game with you guys, and now you pay everybody else. You bring in an outsider and Jerry Jeudy, give him the bag. I get a 1-year renewal.
Nothing.
Thanks for nothing. I want out of here. I would have been fine with that. But this is different.
Yeah.
You said it. If you stay in this organization, you may become Joe Thomas and Myles Garrett Nick Chubb, who have all kinds of personal glory, but these guys aren't about personal glory, the ones that I mentioned. They want team success.
Yeah.
And I think Amari Cooper was like, I got to get out of this. This is a cesspool. Yeah. This is where careers go to die. Thank you, football gods, for not just trading him. He could have ended up in Atlanta, not a bad place this year. He could have ended up in New Orleans. He could have ended up anywhere. I can't think of many situations that are better for Amari Cooper.
No, that's true. By the way, who was it that I got into the big argument on the radio with? Because he was talking about the football gods.
Rick Kamla.
Oh, Rick Kamla.
No,
the basketball gods. That's right.
Oh, okay.
We had Rick Kamla on as a guest years and years ago.
I don't know why you guys.
And you said there's no such thing as basketball gods?
What are you talking about?
No, here's what that means. In my view, I view the universe as karmic. Like, we've got karma credit cards. And every day we live our life. And are we putting...
Sure.
Are we adding to that credit card or are we taking it off? Be kind to the people you meet. If there's a parking spot battle, let them have it. It's not going to change your life if you steal it. Like, hold doors. Be kind to people. Don't be a negative. Don't be an Eeyore. I say this about everything. You're a Tigger or you're an Eeyore. Be a Tigger. I think that Amari Cooper's been a Tigger. He's been a positive soul who's good for the universe. So he had credit on his Karma credit card,
right,
and he took some off of it yesterday. Yeah. He got paid back for living a good, clean life. Is that really a fact? No, but it is for me. That's how I get through my days.
I don't know why I was so agitated about it. But
you were really bitter about it.
We got really into it.
Did he hang up on you?
He might. I don't know if he hung up.
So you were that angry that he...
Well, I was just because he was making it seem like that. He wasn't saying like you were. Like, I get what you're saying, and rationally there's no football gods.
Yes,
but he presented it as if there are real basketball gods.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is stupid. We're not going to, I don't know.
I got to pull that one from the archives.
He should have been a Tigger. Just let it go.
I should have been
Let
a
it go,
Tigger.
man.
Yeah.
I'm going to say this.
Yeah.
Bull is becoming a Tigger.
Oh.
When I met
He does
Bull,
seem different
Bull
now.
was an Eeyore, okay? He was. And I think you would embrace that. But I have noticed.
He'd argue that.
And this is a testament to you, Bull. Yeah. I think that you're a smart person. And you analyze everything. And I think you've analyzed some things. And I think, and maybe I'm way off base, and I'm giving you credit where it's not due. Now, do you have work to do? Probably. We all do. None of us are perfect. We're all work in progress. But I've seen little things in Adam the Bull over the last 2.5 years where I'm like, that's a real step of personal growth.
I am.
We're proud of you, Bull.
I think I am.
I am very proud of you.
I think I am 100% a Tigger in my life. Now, who I am on TV is basically who I am in real life, with a little more energy.
I compare you to Skip Bayless. Skip Bayless was an Eeyore on TV, but in real life, the guy couldn't be more of a Tigger.
But I am still. I'm a mixed bag on. I can be. If you get on my bad side.
But would you say this about yourself?
Yeah.
I see you.
Yeah.
Not diving in for the kill as quickly. Sometimes
there's some. Yes, I would agree.
And I'll almost compare you to the evolution of Howard Stern. Howard Stern in the early days.
Yeah.
And you've got a lot of Howard to you.
He was my idol growing up.
Well, and mine too.
Yeah,
and mine too. When I listen to Howard Stern, if it's for 5, I have sat in my car for an extra 20 minutes to listen to something he's saying.
100%.
You've got a lot of that in you.
Thank you.
And I actually, one of the things I loved about you when I moved here, because I did not know who you were, when I moved here, I found myself sitting in my car, either here at the station, because I was sometimes coming back from shoots or coming in while you were on, and I was always driving home when you guys were on. And what kept me in my car many times was I got to finish Bull's rant or whatever you guys might have been discussing.
I appreciate that. I think I was just saying this to somebody. One of the toughest adjustments moving to Cleveland for me, first it was working with a partner,
right?
Because I had worked by myself
Solo.
mostly in my career before then. That was an adjustment, but I think that happened pretty quickly. But the biggest adjustment was in New York. There's more of a hard edge.
Everything's got to be negative.
Everything's hard edge,
especially in media. Bull, it works. You know it works.
I pride myself on never purposely being negative. I'm just always real, and when it's negative, it's negatives. But even though I'm from New York, I don't root for any New York teams. In fact, I've always hated the Yankees. The Giants and Jets, I'm kind of neutral on.
Right.
The Yankees and Mets, I always hated both teams.
Sure.
I hated the Mets when I was a kid more because they were a rival of the Cubs, and then as I got older and as the Yankees were getting really good, then I hated them more because they're fans. The Yankee fans of all the fan bases in New York are the most obnoxious fans.
Yeah.
So I hated them. But when I was on the radio, and the fans that, I wasn't full-time in New York, but people that listened to me, they knew I wasn't a Yankee fan or a Met fan. And I would, especially the Mets, because they were bad at that point, I would be crapping all over the team.
Yeah.
And fans never got mad at me for crapping on the team.
No, that works because they're mad too.
Right. Whereas here, even though the team sucked,
when you crap on the team here, you're a traitor. You don't love the team.
And
that's the biggest difference.
And that was an adjustment. So what I feel has happened is I think a lot of the fans have adjusted to my style, which is very different from most sports talk people in Cleveland.
Very.
But I've lived here over 13 years. I have become more Midwestern as well. So there's been a little of both.
Well said. So, I think you have become more Midwestern. And by the way, I like kinder, gentler Bull. I really do. I think
I've still got the fireness and the yelling and calling people scrubs.
Don't ever forget it, and don't ever change that part of you.
But I have, in some ways, softened a little. I think. And,
okay, now that we've put Bull on the couch,
sorry.
I mean, how much more stroking Bull's ego?
Yeah,
do we
really,
have to
stroke
do?
the ego.
Well, no, it's actually
Bull,
unintentional.
You're a wonderful talent, and you're a wonderful human being. I know there's a big heart in there. I've seen it.
It's
hopefully
actually
it's not going to explode.
I said enough nice things about this
transition.
guy in the last
let's
years.
go.
Come
Let's
on,
go.
keep
Interesting
it moving
transition to our
here.
next topic because the question was, and by the way, we have a Behind the Glass at 6 o'clock tonight if you guys want to tune in. We taped it this morning. Check it out. The next topic was going to be...
Just as Jay said, he's such a nice guy.
being kinder and jealous.
He goes
with one
I had to spoil it.
Not even a word.
I had to spoil it.
Boom!
It's okay. Listen,
Just to let everybody know the old bull is still in there.
it'll still do better numbers than Bull's podcast. That's okay.
Shots fired. Oh my God!
I got 20,000 on my last Browns post game. I don't know. You gonna get more than that, Mike?
Yeah, I did 30,000 on my Amari Cooper stream yesterday. So whatever you want to do, Bull. Whatever you want.
Fuego.
All right, no, but in all seriousness,
They're flying
this next
around.
topic was going to be, does
Go
the
ahead.
Amari Cooper trade signal the Browns waving the white flag? And before anyone answers, I want to read you a quote here from Kevin Stefanski today, who is speaking to the media right now. Steve, take that roll. Kevin Stefanski, when asked about trying to sell to the locker room that the team is still trying to win after the Cooper trade, said, quote, "I think our guys get the number one thing here is to win. Number one thing is to compete. The truth is, you do lose guys throughout the course of a season. Sometimes it's due to injury. Sometimes it's due to trade. Whatever it may be, and our guys have to step up when that time comes."
Now,
I
that's
don't know
a
why
lie.
it cuts off there, but
I mean,
that is the end of the quote. Do you believe the Amari Cooper trade signals the full-on tank job for the Browns or not?
Well, that's a different story between full-on tank job.
No,
and
full
not
on is
trying
when
to
they trade
win.
Myles Garrett.
Yeah,
Like that is a 100% white flag tank job.
Right, I don't
Right
think-
now we're putting our toes in the water.
But it clearly signals that winning is not the first priority, no?
No, it does because
Yeah.
Amari Cooper makes the team better.
Yeah.
Unless they know something we don't know. Like
Right, unless he's been a cancer in the
unless
locker
he
room.
has been,
you
which
know,
I
who
just,
knows?
I just really can't see that
Yeah,
because
right.
we haven't heard that in his past. And,
Nope.
and we know that I know this much. I mean, from my life, as you get older, like you become like more mature a little bit. So I think well, maybe it depends, right?
Yeah.
But you know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
I think he's 30 years old. Like what's he going to do in the locker room? He's going to be like pissed off, moping around. Is he going to like try to be a cancer? Because there are guys like that try to get other people. Misery loves company, right? So they love to get people to come and commiserate with all the negative things and thoughts and all those things. But like, I don't think that's how he was. With that being said, yeah, the Browns are worse today by getting rid of Amari Cooper.
Right.
However, they may be better because of the third-round pick, although it depends who's making that selection.
Right.
And that's only better next year at the earliest.
Right, yeah, sure.
Third-round picks sometimes don't show up right away.
I think the Browns are absolutely like at a crossroads as to what to do because this is completely off script. This is not what they thought was going to happen. They thought it was going to be easy. They thought they were hitting that easy button when they got Deshaun Watson. Yeah. Now they put themselves in a really tough spot where I don't know how they recover from it in the near future in terms of like the next couple of years without trading a Myles Garrett, without getting first-round picks, because that's how you're going to build the franchise back up, and they don't have the assets.
And you know what? I hate to say this because I'm hoping this is not true, but I don't think this is impossible. We all think that this Deshaun Watson thing is over. Maybe not over in terms he's still going to play for now, but like I don't think there's anybody left. Maybe Shaun King.
What do you think? What do you think the odds are that he's the starting quarterback next year for the Browns?
Well, it should be zero, but I don't know what the Browns are
$85 million, so he'll play.
Okay,
that's
right.
I mean, that's what
like,
Jim,
I'm assuming they're going to draft a quarterback in the first round, but the Browns may not be thinking about that at all. I don't know.
What are they thinking about? Do they live under a rock?
No, I think there are people in the organization that are thinking quarterback. I do. I think they're thinking, okay, what is Sanders going to be at the next level?
Guys, he's pretty good, man.
He's really good.
Fun to watch, man. That arm, it reminds me.
Is he going to work here?
I don't know.
You know what?
I know G. Bush said it will not work here.
I know he's adamant that it won't.
Yeah.
That all comes down to one thing. Joe Flacco worked here. Why? He won. If we would have traded for Ben Roethlisberger in the last 3 years of his career, there would have been people that were setting themselves on fire over that move.
Right.
But once he was 7-1, you know what everybody would say? The same thing they said about Joe Flacco. So to answer your question, will Sanders work here? If he wins, hell yeah, he'll work here. I don't mean
it from that perspective.
I know what you mean.
Is Dion going to let him come here?
Baggage is invisible when you win.
Agreed.
When you lose, baggage is the first thing you see.
But you know Dion,
I get it.
He's going to control. Like, if he don't want him to come to the
it's
Browns.
By the way,
question, but it's a legitimate question. But we have to cross that bridge when it comes to it. If the talent assessment side, let's say his name's Joe Smith.
Yeah.
And his dad is a steel worker and not an NFL great. Just in a vacuum, on a talent perspective alone, he looks like the guy that could be a difference maker. Will he be? Mike said this earlier on the show. It's the most true statement that's been uttered on the show today. Drafting quarterbacks is a crapshoot. If you don't believe me, see Tom Brady, see Brock Purdy, and see Jamarcus Russell.
And
you
Ryan
got
Leaf.
two wildly end of the spectrum.
Sure.
So there's no guarantees he'll work here. The true answer is if he wins, he will work here. If he loses, it will be a dumpster fire.
What if Deion says, hey, he's not going to the Browns?
By the way, Deion should say that.
Part of the letter that was written by Nick Chubb was after he went a full day and day one was over, he went to the gym, which tells you all you need to know about Nick Chubb.
What do you mean?
After when he was drafted.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, you're right.
He had a big party and the family was there. And in typical Amari Cooper, or Nick Chubb fashion, it was at a Buffalo Wild Wings.
Right, sure, yeah.
It was humble. Okay. He went to work out the next morning, and his coach, who he calls in the letter crazy, said, if this team calls, don't pick up the phone. And he pointed to the Browns logo. And he said they reconvened at the Buffalo Wild Wings. And as soon as day 2 was starting, his phone rang, and it said, Cleveland, Ohio, 216. And he almost, he was freaking out. He didn't know what to do. That was the team that was circled. You do not want to go there. Yeah. We'd like to think that has changed because of the 2 playoff appearances in the last 4 years. It hasn't. If teams and if superstars are asking themselves before the draft, where don't I want to go? Who were they circling?
Yeah, I mean, certainly the Browns are right.
The Cleveland Browns.
Near the top of the list.
And here's what's interesting that was different when Nick Chubb was playing. In the old days, unless you're Eli Manning and you have the power,
right,
you say, I'm not going to play there. But today, Sanders has a bank account with 6 zeros in it.
Oh, yeah, he can do whatever
he can do whatever the hell he wants.
What's
in the old days, that's where I have to play.
Yeah, although John Elway
and Eli Manning.
But that's a rarity.
John Elway also had the baseball card
to
deal with.
Yeah.
He said, I'll go play for the Yankees. I don't care. Yeah. I'm not going to the Colts. And when Eli said, I will not play for the Chargers, because he had the gravitas of his brother and his dad behind him, the Chargers blinked.
Yeah.
What are you going to do? And Sanders would be in a position, if he wanted to power play it, he is now, because of NIL money and different circumstances, he could tell the Browns, draft me. I'm not playing.
More than anybody else. More than any of those guys.
Right,
Elway,
because
any of them.
now he has the money.
Yeah. And
his own money, too, not Dad's.
Right.
His money.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens.
And that's a new wrinkle to the draft that they've never had to deal with before. So, I don't know.
How eye-opening would that be for the Haslams if they want to get this guy and he just says, yeah, we're not coming.
Yeah.
And
draft us. We'll just laugh.
And you know what? All of these players that are going to go number 1, they're all going to be wealthy. They're coming in
wealthy.
Oh,
yeah.
And that changes everything.
Maybe not as wealthy as him, but still.
No,
they have
and
money.
listen, they're not going to leave $50 million in a rookie contract on the table. They're just going to make it very clear, do not draft me.
It's going to be interesting. I wonder, because there's so much money in the NFL. Remember, the rookies used to be able to make whatever they could make.
Yes, now
I
they're
wonder if
slotted
in the
now.
next collective bargaining agreement that changes. I saw there's some quarterback. I can't remember who it is. I obviously don't follow college football that closely. There's some quarterback at some school who I don't think is a particular high draft pick. He might have been like a late pick in the draft.
Right.
Who just got eligibility for a 7th year in college. And I'm thinking like...
Cam Rising, 8th year.
Oh, 8th year.
Yeah,
year.
Well,
And
he's eligible now to redshirt to come
Bowman
back
and
next year for an
Oak
8th year.
State.
Well, maybe
got 7
he's
years.
making more... Like, if he's a 7th-round pick in the NFL...
Well, he's already making 7 figures. I read
Right, so
that.
he's probably making more money in NIL than he would in the NFL. If you're going to be a late-round pick.
You're right.
Unless you're a surprise
And when
star.
did we ever think that statement would
Right.
be uttered and be true?
Yeah.
He can make more money by staying in college. A lot of the women in college basketball, that's exactly
definitely.
where they are.
Yeah.
Go to the WNBA and take a pay cut.
I think Caitlin Clark should have stayed in school, but anyway.
Well, there's people that...
But she got the Nike deal.
She's
so.
still making
she could
plenty
have got
of
the
money.
Nike deal in college, though.
Yeah.
She could have gotten that same
I
deal
think
in college.
she's a competitor. She wants to play against the best
And
players.
listen, anybody that is a competitor is going to say, no, the highest level is the pro level. That's
Right.
where I want to go. All of that being said, And with this new weird world of NIL
And by the way, did you guys see this the other day that I think it's the state of Georgia, they're going to have NIL for high school players?
Well, it was voted down in Ohio last year, but all of the
states just approved it.
Yeah, and all of the winds are blowing that it's eventually coming to Ohio. I've talked to a couple athletic directors and even some people high up at the OHSAA where they say, we're trying to push a boulder up a hill. It's coming. There's nothing we can do to stop it.
Is there going to be that much money for the top kids? Sure, but not.
In Texas football, there might be six-figure deals. Yeah. You know?
There'll be 6 figures in Ohio.
There may be.
For
I don't
top
know.
Kids, probably.
The reason I say in Texas,
I think Hoban and Ignatius are going to have alumni that are going to be able to pop in and
I don't
get
know.
some of those
we're going to lose. Rocky Rivers.
I would think maybe 5-figure deals. Maybe kid might get 10,000. But
I mean, whatever though.
Who knows?
For a high school kid, 10,000 is like $1 million.
Yeah.
That's
true.
And by the way, $10,000 for a family. Like if your parents are making $35,000 a year,
you change
and
your
all of a
lifestyle
sudden
a little bit.
Your kid is going to get paid to go play high school football for.
Plus you
let's say it's $35,000 a year.
Plus you're getting this good private education. I assume it's a good education.
Yeah, it's great.
I don't know that.
Well, I can't imagine that a lot of the non-private schools are going to be able to cough up a $30,000 check.
No,
for
this
a
is
kid.
only about.
But
it only
St.
benefits
Ignatius
the private school.
wants to be great again.
Yeah.
And they have the donors. And by the way, all of the alumni there that are in influential positions are not happy with where that program has meandered to. You're probably right.
They will. They'll
Maybe
spend
in
the money.
Ohio you could have a
it's a huge
six-figure NIL deal.
And I think at that point you got to go to. I know in New York, the leagues were not separated by size of school, and most of the schools were similar size there, but there was a Catholic league and a public
exactly.
league.
Same
that
in New
was
Jersey.
Yeah.
And those Catholic schools are always powerhouses,
right?
Because
they're recruiting.
Bergen Catholic and Don Bosco, they're bringing kids in from all over the country.
Boy, you mentioned Cam Rising. He was in the same recruiting class, by the way, as like Tua.
Oh my God!
And Sam Ehlinger, just for example, is a terrible quarterback class.
Sam Ehlinger should have stayed in college.
Jake Fromm, Davis Mills, the backup for the Texans, is the #1 overall high school quarterback in that class.
Yeah.
But that was the 2017 high school recruiting class, and he is eligible to play again. Let's wrap up the show, though, before we get to Super Chats. A few more minutes on the Guardians. I know we didn't get enough of it earlier. Disappointing loss, but they're not dead, down 2-0. None of us think they're dead completely, right? They still have a great chance. May not be the right word.
I said last night I give them a 33% chance to win this series, which is higher than most teams in that situation. They've got to take this day off to reset and get back to playing like they have for much of this season and much of the ALDS. The Yankees are good. I get it. They're better than the Tigers. We all understand that. This is not a all-time Yankee team. It's a good team. It's a very good team, just like the Guardians are. But they got to get back to what made the Guardians special. Bullpen, defense, base running, and Jose and Naylor being clutch. That's got to happen. And with the way Rocchio and it's so frustrating that Ramirez and Naylor haven't hit for the most part because Rocchio and Kwan right before them have been so good that there's been base runners consistently for those guys.
To that point, I'll say if you had the numbers that Kwan and Rocchio have put up.
Yeah.
And you showed me those numbers. Here's where these two guys are after game 2.
Right.
I would say one thing about that. Well, if Jose and Josh return to Jose and Josh, then we're up 2-0.
Yeah.
Because you're getting production from a place where you didn't expect it. The worst part of that is we're not getting production from places that we demanded.
That's right.
Those guys have to be great. Why are the Yankees up 2-0? Stanton has a home run. Soto has a home run, and Judge has a home run. Their Paul Bunyans have been Paul Bunyan.
Right.
They're pitching. Rodon was great. Okay. We could have won that game.
Yeah.
It was lost in the 3rd inning when we walked 4 guys and threw 4 wild pitches.
Right.
Well, what the hell do you expect is going to happen?
They had Tim Hill, their relief pitcher, the lefty side armor.
Yeah.
By the way, he looks like the guy who was mowing my lawn the other day. I mean,
when they kept taking the close-up of his face, I'm like, that guy looks 50.
Yeah, I know, it's weird. But, they made him look like a Hall of Famer.
Well, because they swung at balls that were out of the strike zone.
My gosh. I mean, that guy had been cut. The Yankees picked him up off of waivers.
Yeah, I know.
And they just, the discipline that we're used to from this team, both offensively and defensively, has disappeared in this series.
Yeah.
If they get back to what they are and what they're capable of, then yes, they can come back. And as I said before, if they keep playing sloppy, they're going to lose.
I'm with you. I think because historically it's a 15% chance.
Right. So 33 is high.
The Yankees once upon a time, I know, different manager, different players, same pinstripes. The Yankees once upon a time led a series 3-0. And then Dave Roberts stole a base. Mm-hmm. And then the longest World Series drought was snapped.
Yep.
So
that's right.
If it can be done to the Yankees with a stolen base in Game 4 when it looks like all hope was lost, even Red Sox fans, diehard Red Sox fans, had thrown in the towel. They went on to win the next 4 with Tito as their manager, and then they broke the long-standing World Series drought. Right now, the longest-standing World Series drought belongs to us. Here's the way you have to approach this, and I hope this is what Stephen Vogt said either in the clubhouse after the loss or on the flight to Cleveland last night, which had to feel like it was a 100-hour flight. You get up in front of the group, and here's what you say. Guys, we now have a series of 1-game seasons. We are now playing a series of Game 7s.
Yeah.
You can't bring it even 2-2 until you win Game 3. So you're not looking at we've got to do 4 out of 5. You can't look at it that way. Now, on the bright side, the Yankees 6 times this year have gone on skids where they've lost 4 of 5.
Yeah.
That's good. Don't look at it in the macro. Look at it in the micro. Just as you do within a game, at bat to at bat, inning to inning. Mm-hmm. Now it has to more than ever be looked at game to game. We got Game 7 at home against the Yankees. You like our chances? You win. Ahead of Game 4, guys, how lucky are we? Game 7 against the Yankees at home. You win. Now Game 5 is Game 7 at home against the Yankees.
That's right.
You can't win the series if you don't take care of business in Games 3, 4, and 5.
One game at a time. That's it.
One at a time.
That's it.
It is very doable. I like your number of 33%.
Yeah.
Look, I'm not being idiot Jay here. I'm still saying it is a long road, and it is an unlikely road to be traveled.
Right.
But it is not impossible. It is not 0-3.
No.
It's 0-2, and it very much can be flipped around. You're going to have to win one game in New York. It doesn't have to be Game 1 or 2. It can be Game 7.
Let's repeat history. In 2007, that was the last time that the Guardians, at the time the Indians, beat the Yankees in the playoffs. Last time they beat them in the playoffs was 2007. What happened after that playoff series? Joe Torre, one of the greatest managers ever, was fired.
Imagine
because
that.
They expected to win that series. It didn't happen.
Yeah.
If the Guardians come back and win this series, Aaron Boone is probably going to be fired.
In all likelihood, he'll be out of a job.
Yes. So let's make it happen again. Let's get Aaron Boone fired. Let's win this series and take care of business.
And I don't need to say this, but I'll say it anyhow. Progressive Field has to be Yankee Stadium. It has to, and it will be.
Oh, yeah.
It will be.
Yeah.
And, obviously it's like, of course, it's, Captain Obvious, you've got to score first. If they get on the board first, then now there's a light glimmering through the end of that tunnel. If they go up 5-0 like they did, or take a big lead like they did in Game 5, all of a sudden that place becomes a powder keg, just like Yankee Stadium.
Right.
And it can be very hard to overcome that.
Don't sell your tickets to Yankee fans.
The Yankees are human.
Yes.
The guy that scares me is Juan Soto. He terrifies me.
I thought it was the right call, intentionally walking Soto. As great as Judge is,
we all agreed.
It was the right call.
Yeah.
It loads the bases, and Soto's hotter right now. I just thought that. I know it seems crazy to walk somebody in front of Judge.
It does.
And in theory, it is crazy.
But once upon a time, the great Barry Bonds was walked with the bases loaded, and guess what? It was the right call then, too.
That's right.
And I'm not saying Soto's Barry Bonds, but he could have, with one swing of the bat, ended the game. It would have been over. If he hits a home run there, it's over.
Yeah.
And they got out of it with only one run, and we'll see how it plays out in the long term. But in that we had a text chain on the show, and I think all those that weighed in liked the move.
Yeah.
You can't argue against it.
Right field and catcher, they're getting absolutely nothing. And Brennan with 2 errors yesterday.
I think we've seen the last of Will, which is a shame. I like him. I like him a lot as a human being. Can't put him out there. He looks a mess at the plate and in the field. What was that?
Yeah.
What was that?
We got some super chats to wrap up today's show. And let's start. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of these. So let's knock them out. Creative Juice says, Naylor sucks. Hashtag both of them.
I was going to say which one.
Yeah.
Wooddog50 says, the win in this series has been unreal.
Yeah.
Has been unreal to bad. The Naylor boys can't be like playoff Rocchio. Man, he is lights out. I will say Guardians in 7. We win the next 3. UCSS rules as always. Bleep the Yankees.
Yes.
Well, no, go ahead.
Yeah.
Rob Venter says, love the show, guys, but I disagree with the take on the Cooper trade. The guy's demeanor showed he didn't want to be here. He said after the trade, move or rust on Instagram. What does that mean? We talked about that. Dustin, do you think his demeanor showed he didn't want to be here? Is that accurate?
I think it's fair.
I saw some things.
Yeah, I think that is sort of fair. But just because he doesn't want to be here doesn't mean that he's a bad teammate or he's a cancer.
I know, but let me ask you this, because I used the word malcontent. I pulled it back to say he was unhappy.
Yeah.
You've played on teams where you knew there was a superstar who was very unhappy. Doesn't that kind of create an awkwardness in the room a little bit? Because I've been in that spot too, and it's always been awkward to me.
Never was for me because I was just happy to be on the teams.
Okay.
But I mean, for the most part, I think guys.
But would you agree those guys like that set the tone for others?
Yeah, no, I think so. I think that in the locker room, there's a certain aura, a certain vibe, if you will, that you need to have. Positivity, you know. I think when somebody's negative or somebody's just kind of, you know, acting a certain way that's not positive, I think it does wear on other players and your teammates. I don't think Amari intentionally was doing it. I think he was probably frustrated. And
Sometimes you can't hold your emotions.
And by the way, we're
100%.
reading into body language. We don't know how he was really feeling.
Haven't you ever had a bad day and brought bad energy to work?
100%.
Or been maybe a little bit of a D to your wife or girlfriend or your kids or whatever, and you're like, man, I feel bad about that because I took something out on them. Like that is probably what happened and is happening in that locker room because guys are really frustrated right now.
Well, look, it could
I
be
saw
addition
Jay
by
a couple of
subtraction.
weeks ago. There was a rug Betsy Kling was standing on. He pulled the rug right out from under her. It was unbelievable. I couldn't believe it.
Listen, the way Betsy treats me and the things I put up with. Just today, we're over at the Hall of Fame waiting to do an interview. It's 10:20. Our interview subject isn't there, and I'll admit I was cranky pants. I'm texting my producer. I'm like,
what the hell's going on here?
I've got to be on set at 10:59:50, and Kling, it's like, look at you, Mr. Cranky Pants. What's wrong with you? Like, when I see someone else's negative, I never say a word.
Yeah.
Betsy will call my
calls
ass
you
out.
out.
She keeps me honest.
Did she really call you Mr. Cranky Pants?
Twice when we
That's
got
right
back
up
to the
her alley.
station, which
Right
ended
up
up
her
being
alley.
in plenty of time. We're upstairs talking to the producers, and Betsy goes, he was Mr. Cranky Pants. He's like, not talking. He's not being in his normal self. I got to go. I'm like, I was late.
Yeah.
So
And ironically,
I brought negative energy to work earlier today.
That's true.
And I regret it.
Jay said he was running late. Was the first one in today. So
That's
actually shout
right.
out.
That's a rarity.
Not only was I the first one in, this was the first time in UCSS history that I was the first one in the chair
That's true.
on the set.
That's true.
And I was cranky pants 40 minutes earlier.
All right, a couple more super chats. TBL, the bottom line, says Buffalo doesn't throw the ball like that anymore. They had a better number one than Amari Cooper. Jordan D'Agostaro says Bud Light needs to bring back the locked beer fridges and unlock them when Deshaun leaves the team. Ewok says Shaun King is wrong on Aaron Rodgers. He gets so much hate because of his off-the-field views and stances. Rodgers threw for 290 yards and made so many great throws. Jets had over 100 yards in penalties and missed 2 field goals.
I said that too. I thought he was being unfair. I thought Rodgers was great Monday night.
Here's the thing about Rodgers.
Wait, Bo, let me get the last one in, then you can finish the show with Rodgers. Very last one.
Go ahead.
Chef Brian K says, you guys all said guards in 7, so they got their 2. Now it's our turn to get 3. Your final thoughts on Rodgers?
So my thought on Rodgers is, I said I was in the minority because everybody was picking the Jets to be great this year.
Yeah.
And I said, listen, the guy's 40, coming off an Achilles tear. Now, overall for the season, I think Aaron Rodgers has been okay. He's certainly not been as bad as Deshaun.
Oh, nowhere near
Not even close.
Nowhere near
But he hasn't been Aaron Rodgers.
No, I would never be able to compare him to Deshaun
No,
Watson.
but he hasn't been Aaron Rodgers either.
I thought
which is
in
what
the game Monday night, I thought he looked
he played
as
pretty
good as
well,
he has
but he's
all
made
year.
more. Like, he usually never turns the ball over.
Usually he does
and
not.
he's made a lot more mistakes this year.
I can't wait to see what the Green Bay reunion looks like in this green.
Listen,
Gang green.
Their wide receiving core is loaded.
tons of talent.
I mean, Garrett Wilson's fantastic.
Give me Garrett Wilson and Devontae Adams and a 40-year-old, maybe not what he used to be, Aaron Rodgers.
Well, even what's his name, who's been great for the Jets, the wide
Hall?
receiver. No, the wide receiver used to be on Green Bay also.
Lazard.
Yeah, you're right.
Lazard.
Lazard's been fantastic.
And he has a great relationship and rapport with Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
If this team doesn't go on to compete for the division title with Buffalo, I'll be stunned.
I think Aaron Rodgers has played pretty much what I thought. I thought he'd be pretty good, but not great, and that's what he's been.
You know what I like about their situation compared to ours? They're not sitting on their hands saying, well, let's see what happens. They didn't trade their best player.
Right.
They fired their coach, who was clearly a problem, and they went out and got an A-plus player to make the offense better.
Yeah, and
they're being proactive while we're being passive.
I think you can leave your I think it's unfair to accuse Shaun or others of saying he's bad because of the off the field. Like, I think Aaron Rodgers has said some really stupid stuff off the field, but that's not going to judge how I grade him as a quarterback.
He hasn't been great, but he hasn't sucked either.
No, he hasn't.
See ya.
Bye.